Hello and welcome to another session of Level Up. This time we made 60th time. It's another anniversary session, and we are here with Alex Brady. Hello, man.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Alex is an amazing concept artist working in games and movie industry. Contributed to a lot of major companies and their projects like Battlefield, Hardline, Fast and Furious, Is This Heaven, Guardians of Galaxy, and many more. Right now you can see Wojtek's screen that he's sharing Alex's website, so we will post it on the event page as well. And today Alex is going to do something that you probably asked a lot us to do, which means overpaintings and some critic giving. So Alex would like to also share with his previous stuff, his journey about the beginnings, and some of his life changes. So hello once again, man, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Well, it's really nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me on. It certainly feels like a big, privilege to come on and hang out with you guys. So I'm really, very honoured. And hello, everyone watching. It's really nice to be here and hopefully try and pass on a bit of the stuff I've learned in the last few years and recently.
Awesome.
Because I find that I'm still learning stuff all the time. So yeah, hopefully I'll do my best.
Awesome. So we are really, really happy to meet, and I already met you last time. It was really, really valuable meeting. So I hope that you will share with people a lot of nice insights about your life and your work, because it's really amazing. And we would like to sorry for a little bit of delay today. UK trains are a little bit crazy, as I can say. So Wojtek is still sharing the Alex screen, so you can see his beautiful works and amazing designs.
I just love these spaceships. I just love these shapes, and I just cannot stop looking at them.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like yeah, it's like we had last time we had also a vehicle designer. So today we also have some new fresh air in Level Up spirit. So it's really cool to see that kind of.
Okay, guys. So if you want to check out Al's page, you have to go to.
I can post it on the event page. So.
Okay, sure.
And maybe I will share the screen on Alex right now. So
yeah,
you
of
would
course.
actually share your screen, Alex. So hello once again.
Let me one sec. Let me just download these paint overs. Okay. So these paint overs that you sent me, they're already really good. I'm a bit worried because I can't just see any stuff that I can go, oh, well, that's not very good. I can fix that. These are all really nice. Let me just get the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, basically people were posting a lot of pictures to overpaint for a while, and we decided to pick up a few of them. So maybe Alex would give you some critique. But you also posted a lot of portfolios links lately. So it's really up to you, Alex. Whatever you feel comfortable, we can just go ahead. But I think we should maybe start with your works first, like your journey, and then we can focus on something else.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should start from you. I think it will be
best for
viewers to know your journey first, and then we can fill the time with overpaints and portfolios and
exactly.
Yeah. So we want full attention on you today. So yeah, I know you have shared with me your concept art sketchbook on concept.org. You have been putting your early work there. So you have been using the page concept.org continuously when you were trying to improve. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, I found concept. I mean, I know it's kind of gone down in traffic recently because of all of the drama and stuff, but I found that a really great site when I first decided to. Well, basically, I got a book for my birthday in about 2005 or 6. I got this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Scott Robertson concept art book, and this had a huge impact on me because I was working as a car stylist then, and I wasn't very happy. I was in a studio, and I hated 9 to 5s, And I was finding, I found Sid Mead, first of all, obviously, and then I found this, and it just had all of this stuff that I was really interested in, and these people were doing it for a job, so I'm quite a cliche in that respect, in that I found this thing, I was like, people are doing this for a job, I want to do that for a job, and after about 5 years of feeling like, I wasn't getting anywhere really, but just carrying on, it all of a sudden happened, and went to work with Jonas in NPC in London on Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just
So that was your first job?
That was
your first.
That was the first kind of really
important one.
If you like. And I was only there for a few days. It's a complete scam. I put it on my CV as if to say, oh, I pretty much, made the whole film. My mum basically thinks, she tells everyone I basically made that film, and I was there for like 4 or 5 days. And yeah, studios. Jonas, there's some stories of me on the first day, which maybe we can get into later. But yeah, studios are not my environment at all. I'm a bit of a loner. So yeah, this was the perfect kind of job for me because I love just being sent work, left to be on my own devices, and then just kind of send it back. And concept.org showed people doing what I did with that sketchbook. So there was lots of sketchbooks where people started off and they weren't all that, but they were interested, and they went away and studied fundamentals and anatomy and all of this old school kind of old master's style way of training your drawing ability. And Craig Mullins is just fearlessness. You look at Craig Mullins' work, and he's absolutely fearless. He'll paint spaceships, he'll paint princesses, everything. And he always brings the same kind of joy and dignity to everything he paints. He always makes it look like he's really kind of given it a lot of effort and a lot of thought. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. That's the way I want to depict the stuff that I see in my head when I read a book that I like.
Yeah.
So these were the was a place where I could put my little bits of work that I done every day and feel like it wasn't just going down this black hole of I'll never see that again. It's like you can store it there. It's like a diary.
Yeah.
And you can look back on it, and other people can see it. And I made lots of friends doing that. There was lots of other people in the same boat, and we've all come up together now. So people who are now kind of 25, 30. When we started, we were just kids and we didn't know what we were doing, and we've come up, and now we've seen successive other generations of people do exactly the same thing. So if there's anything I can offer in terms of advice as to how to keep going with it, I would just say, just don't worry too much about making £1 million in the first year. Just keep going, and gradually you'll work your way slowly upwards.
So for how long have you been putting your work on concept.org and treating it as your diary or help?
I started in 2008. That's when I first got serious. I decided to get serious. Made a decision. This is it now. I'm going to do it properly. And I got a very cheap Wacom, which I still use. This tiny little Wacom bamboo fun and splash or something it's called. And I got this for Christmas from my mum, or maybe it was my birthday.
So you still use it today, right? You still use it to this day?
Yeah, I still have the same one. It's exactly the same thing. It's small, so it goes in your rucksack really nice.
Exactly.
Robust.
So just one thing I wanted to say to our viewers, because there's tons and tons of technical questions. So you have seen Kieran Alex's work, and you see that he works on a tablet that is not expensive, is good enough. So you just
£50.
Exactly. You don't need a Cintiq to be a professional, basically. You don't need
a
fancy...
That's not to say that I wouldn't spit in the face of someone who said you want a Cintiq for free, but I'm not, I've got other things to spend my money on. So,
exactly.
A cheap Wacom pad is more than good enough for most things. And if you want to do, nice flowing sketches, I think the Wacom is probably better. I've never had a great deal of time on one, but I tend to just use Biro and then scan it or take a picture on my phone and put it straight into Photoshop and use that. Because Biro, obviously, you can get a lovely analog, line weights, and you can push very hard with the pen to make an outline, or you can just use the weight of the pen to just be the weight that's on the ball at the end, and then you can get a lot of variety of kind of line out of a Biro, which you can then scan and put straight into your Photoshop and just draw over the top on a multiply layer. So
yeah, so basically the equipment doesn't really matter, and a lot of people think about it, but.
I mean, at the beginning,
it can help somehow if it's like a bigger or faster. But you are just you can show the people that you can do whatever you want, whatever job you want, and it doesn't really matter if you are doing it on bamboo or Cintiq. So that's the point.
I mean, you look at the great masters; they painted with pigments made from ground-up rocks, and yet they created these incredible masterpieces. And I think if you just practice a long time, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, as much as you can, whenever you can, and make it fun, so you really want to do it, you'll get good at it, whatever it is. I mean, it could be, you know, cutting hair, or, you know, making cups of tea, or whatever. As long as you do it for a while and you think about it and learn how to improve your repertoire and stuff, you'll get really amazing at it. So I think that's...
No equipment makes you master, right? Yeah.
Well, I certainly think it makes it a lot easier. I mean, Photoshop means you've got Control Z and layers, and, you know, you can undo and you can stretch things around and stuff. It's an incredible tool. I love Photoshop, but I do think that if, you know, a guy with a you know, an ancient Chinese guy with just a brush and some papyrus or some, you know, vellum or something, he's still creating these beautiful paintings from the most basic materials, purely out of just love and practice. So yeah, don't feel inadequate if you haven't got an expensive Wacom. They are great. They're like Ferraris, but you don't always need a Ferrari. You know, you can just get by with an Aston Martin or a Porsche or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect quote. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So coming back to your sketchbook, maybe if we are still talking about it, maybe you could share your screen and show us how it looks. We will post a link in the our Facebook page, on the event page, so you can guys check it out by yourself. And maybe you can get some comments on your early work, or what to recognize your struggles or major, you know.
Okay, well, I can do it a couple of ways. One thing I've done is I've grabbed all of my rough sketches and put them on a page in my website, which we can go through, and they're all kind of a bit out of order, but they're all just old and rough, and there's a lot of just junk in there. Or we can go through the concept art, a few pages of the concept art sketchbook, whichever you prefer. I mean,
I think we can do both. I think first we can see, that would be great to see your early stuff from the beginnings, and then we can see your rough stuff, because I think these two things are still different, right?
Very good, very good. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's weird looking at this stuff because it feels like I did it about 5 minutes ago. You know, really, it doesn't feel like I've changed as a person or anything, contrary to appearances. But I remember these are the last of my mouse paintings. So I just got into the idea of being Craig Mullins, and I was living with one of my friends and another mate next door in a village in the middle of absolutely nowhere, through just a sort of weird string of life coincidences. You know, I ended up there in this place out on a roundabout, like, you know, the house in Fight Club, when it's just in the middle of nowhere and it's just industrial estate all the way around. It was like that, and the only internet we had was miles away up the road at a McDonald's, where we had to walk, and we had no money. So all we do all day is just like smoke, play video games, and draw, and you know, with nothing to do and no money. You don't have any of the distractions that you'd have going out with, you know, having fun. So all there was to do was just to draw, and it was a really, in some ways, really difficult time, and in other ways, kind of a fun time. Even at the time, you realise this could be what we look back on as the golden days, and I think we kind of do in a way, the three of us, like, you know, 3-day Risk board game battles and stuff, just because we were so bored. There was so little to do that it really helped us in a way, I think, to kind of build our design muscle, if you like, just by trying to climb our way out of this pit of having no money by working for ourselves. So yeah, it was a formative experience.
So those are from like 2008, or?
These are from 2008 and earlier. I would say these are kind of, at the time I was doing the architectural renderings and stuff to make some money. Okay. These are kind of, what would happen is I'd find a lot of just stuff in the 3D model software that I liked, and I would just kind of curate those images and say, oh, well, I like this particular random geometry, and I like the way that the colors look, and I'll keep it for no other reason than just to have a snapshot of it, if you like, so I could remember that strange, weird vision that appeared on the screen. This is from Motorstorm. I got a big break early on. I did the car design thing for a while and left in disgrace because I couldn't turn up on time. And I ended up getting a job as a vehicle designer for this Motorstorm for the PlayStation 3 launch. And in the end, I mean, I was absolutely useless. I didn't know what I was doing. I suspect I was just one of those, you know, when a design team takes on a noob and they are a disaster. They don't turn the work in right. It's always needing like feedback and changes, and I was that guy. I was a complete pain. And so, so none of the work really made it into the game. I think one thing made it into the game, and they were just like, "Here's your money, just leave us alone. Stop annoying us." But it was enough to put on my CV that I had worked on a real game, and then it all just went quiet for years. Nothing happened until I kind of got serious in '08 and '09 and said, "Well, you know, I've worked on this game back in the day. Can I have a job on your mobile phone game?" Someone put me onto the idea that you could go to a mobile phone game engine developer website where all the developers hang out on these, like for Unity and Unreal, and all the developers who make the games hang out there, and they're all looking for artists, and they have to go out and find them. And it occurred to me, well, no, it didn't occur to me. It occurred to my friend, who then told me, put your work on there, and they'll be queuing up to get you. And it turns out it was true. So the easiest way of getting into work was working on small projects for small dev teams who had left big companies, and they knew exactly what they were doing, but they had no money. So, you know, I'd get paid like $300 or $400 for a week's worth of work, which was, you know, a bit of a nightmare, but it was money. I had no money, I had no food, and that gradually, you could go from like a really shit one to a shit one to a medium one to a all right one, back to a shit one again, have nothing for a bit, then a good one, and then you slowly kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you make your way up the budget of these games until last year I had to do most of the cars for the new Battlefield game, and it was exactly the same as for the mobile games. There was no difference in the work sort of style. There was no difference in the way I dealt with the AD. That, you know, they would just send you work, they'd give you notes to change stuff, you send it back. When it was signed off, they'd give you your money, and it really was like paid training, because, you know, you're kind of you're working in a real work environment, but the risks are much less. You're not going to ruin your reputation if you sort of mess up, or, you know, they're used to dealing with noobs because they've got no money, so you know, that's what they expect. And it was a really great way of getting into the biz. I think I would always recommend that to people. Go and find the developer forums and hit them there where it hurts.
You are talking a lot about your struggles at the really early stages, like no money, low pay, tons of work. So how did you stay motivated? How did you manage to keep going? Was it that because you had no choice?
To be honest,
or
that wasn't a problem. I didn't find that a problem. I found it was the work that motivated me. Everything else was kind of depressing. But the work, I was, you know, I'd get up in the morning and I was looking forward to what I was going to do, or I'd been working on the night before, and you know, every so often you make a breakthrough and you do something that you really like, and then you allow yourself a kind of a day off to feel clever with yourself, and then it's back to it again. So really, it was the work that kept me going through the boring times. I think it was a comfort and a fun thing to do. So yeah, I would say when I'm looking, your joy.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. There's a little bit of the delay from your side, so I may be looking at like I'm interrupting you, but it's just that your voice gets a little bit later to your side from me, and so there's a little bit of the delay. What I wanted to say is that when I'm looking even at your early work, it looks like you loved exploring, like either 3D graphic design, tons and tons of stuff. Where does it come from? Like, were you always that hungry for new things as you are now?
I think I'm probably a bit set in my ways now. I think at the time I was very uncertain about how I wanted to proceed, but I was so inspired by different things that had very little in common. So, for example, as you can see from these, I was very inspired by James Jean's sketchbooks. If you go to James Jean's website, he's uploaded all of his sketchbooks, and the ones from sort of 07 or 08 or 09 are just sublime. They're amazing. I think the blue ones and the black ones in particular are my favorites, and they're just genius with a pen. And that was one thing I wanted to do. And then on the other side, you've got Sid Mead and you know, James Cameron and people like that doing this other stuff. And I guess it was all just like, I'm impatient. I want to do all of these different things. Do one thing a day and just be a different person each day, if you like. You know, kind of do a different approach each day. And it kept it fresh, because otherwise you do 4 or 5 things in the same style, and it's like, okay, I've got it now.
Yeah, it's something that you told me when we met. It's like being hungry of, you know, researching and doing something else or something new, like every day, and you know, and every attempt to do something different, right?
That's right. I should say at this point, by the way, Darek came to meet me, and we went to Frankie and Benny's, And I did laugh at him because it looked like he was on a date with a tranny, and everyone was like, "What's going on over there?" And he was very, very polite and very game. So, you know, well done, mate.
It was all good, man. It was all good.
I had a really nice dessert. It was a good breakfast.
Yeah.
So yeah, these were all architectural rendering stuff that was an offshoot of the business we were trying to get into, me and my friends. And in the meantime, I found that you could use it to create images as if you had a camera and the ability to create a whole world. And it was an absolute revelation to find that you could just
really nice.
create this realistic lighting on just complete nonsense. And after a while, I noticed that you learn enough about bounce light from kind of doctoring these images that you can paint with it instinctively. And now, you know, I can paint chrome and stuff just from my imagination because I can kind of guess what the renderer would do. Like, you know, this bit of the surface is looking down here, so it's probably going to be this color. This bit of the surface is looking over here, so it's going to be that color. And you can just pipette and then paint with the paintbrush.
So basically, sorry. So basically, you understood how, you know, the light and reflection works by application. Just applying. Oh yeah, just applying 3D into your work.
That's right.
and then you just have that kind of knowledge that help you to create it from, you know, from imagination. And so what's the difference if you create like environments and vehicles? What's the difference for you?
Well,
and how do you approach? Is it like something that's, you know, quite similar, or you approach it in a different way?
I think well, there's a few things I'd like to say on that, really. That there's two ways I tend to approach a problem. Either I have an idea, you know, I go away and think about it, and I have an idea that I think will work, and I'll then go and pursue it. Or I have no ideas, and I just have to kind of just work for like 4 or 5 miserable hours trying to get something to work, and then it comes in, and I'm like, okay, I understand what I'm doing now. Often it's the second one, to be honest. It's rare that I have a brainwave and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll put a shark's face on a boat. That's brilliant. That's the most incredible idea I've ever had in my life. That'll do. That'll do. Or, you know, the other time it's more like just keep working until something happens. I would say cars are the most difficult thing, and I was never very good at cars. I mean, these are all a real car designer would look at these and think, nah, not really a serious contender as a car designer. I think they're as complicated as a human face to draw, and they're all different, and you have to do something new every time. People who are car designers, my hat's off to you. I think they're geniuses. They're like sculptors. They're really something. So I've always felt like I was kind of a bit of an imposter as a car designer and a bit of a faker. But on the other hand, it does teach you how to render for reflective surfaces, which is useful. And, you know, cars are cool. Everyone likes cars. I'm a big petrol head, so, you know, I'm a kind of geek about cars.
Yeah, but even if you're starting and you think that maybe it can be a little bit shitty at the beginning in terms of like a look and function, with time it should be better, right? So you make more and more cars, and they are more and more convincing, right? For
I think that's probably the most important thing I could ever tell anyone, because when I was a kid, I sort of thought that, you know, if I'm not good at something straight away, then obviously I'm not meant to be good at it. I'm not, you know, Karate Kid. I can't just do karate whenever I want. But then you think, actually, Karate Kid had to work really hard. He was terrible at the start. Before he could get good, he had to work with Mr. Miyagi for all summer, didn't he? And that's the lesson, is like, just keep doing it and you'll get good, because every time you do it, you fuck up loads. And you're like, well, okay, well, I'm not going to do what I did last time. I'll do it differently. So yeah, just persist. That's it. That's the secret. Just keep going. I think that's the most. It's so obvious, but it took me till I was about 26 or 7 or 8 to learn that properly, to really make it go into me. But that's all you have to do, is just keep working hard. And now I always do that, and it's much more like, you know, you can be much more confident that it'll be okay. Yeah. There's always a bit of a dodgy patch here and there. You're like, oh, I haven't got any ideas. The deadline's starting to loom. But every time it's like that, and then you panic a bit, you get serious, you look at what you have to do, you stop mucking around, and you just do it, and it's all right. You know, I think that's all you need to do. Just keep at it.
Yeah, it tends to make you more relaxed when you are when you realize that if you do a mistake, you actually learn, and you know that the way of working and the way of painting and creating all the time. It's all about just making a mistake that push us forward, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not like you can do a push-up and do a bad push-up and not get more muscle from it. If you know, not that I have any muscle, but like, you know, everything you do is a step forward. Everything, and you might trip and stumble a few times, but pick yourself back up and keep going. It's the most cliche. I wish I could give you something more novel, you know, as a kind of secret of how to do it. But just keep going, because I still feel like I'm a noob, and I still want to get into the business and do what I want to do. And nothing's changed. I just know how to handle Photoshop a bit better. I know a few more shortcuts.
And that's why, because you are a great artist and you want to all the time, you know, you want to improve, right? You don't think like, oh, I just work on Battlefield, I'm a fucking superstar. It's not like this. You just want to develop, and that's really count.
I think you're allowed like a few hours after a great professional success to kind of sit back and be like, yeah, that was great. I worked hard on that, and I'm really glad that came off well. I'm going to go for a beer with my friends now or whatever. But you know, the next morning, it's as if it never happened. You're back on the horse again. So it's
the new tasks are waiting, and you don't really want to put down your lever. You know what I mean? So
exactly. And don't be put off by awful results either. I mean, you can see that I try to just draw from photographs, which is always difficult, people, and then from life. And not very good, really, if I'm honest. But there's no way you can go from being rubbish to being good without all the being shit in between. If you know what I mean. You have to just go through that. That's the only way. It's like a video game. You can't just skip to the end. You have to work your way through. Because if you went into the final level of the game with your ability as when you start the game, you get your ass handed to you. But as you go through the game, you learn tricks. You learn how to use the controller. You learn how to strategize and so on. And it just gets easier. And every new thing that you do is a joy, because you can see an idea in your mind. You can read a book, and you know, just like, I know exactly how I'm going to do that. And you can. It's amazing. It's like having a printer connected to your brain, and you can just print out the stuff that you see in your imagination that you steal from books. You know, that's the thing. If you haven't got any ideas, if you're short of inspiration, get a weird old book. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, an old book about fishing, an old book about magic, an old book about science fiction. It'll be full of strange shit you've never thought before that no one else will be thinking about, because it's just some old book that you found in a box in a second-hand store, and it'll just fill you with new directions to move in. And then you can go on the internet and research and find lots of pictures of the thing that you've been reading about. It's just a joy. It's absolutely the best thing ever, I think. And then you come up with work that's sort of slightly left field, because you've been looking at stuff that other people aren't. That's the trick.
Yeah.
These are copied from James Jean, Paulie. He is the man, I think, with when it comes to like life drawing. I'm a big fan of Nadia that you had on a few weeks ago. I think she's a very impressive artist. Got the right attitude. I would only echo everything she said. I think in her session, just all. Yeah,
that was really unique, because we didn't really have traditional tools oriented session. So that was really nice to see. Real drawing. That's really awesome.
She's a superb concept artist. If you look at her work on the NPC website, I think there's some stuff up there of Guardians of the Galaxy, or there was, and it's just wow, impressive. Yeah. But to see and her attitude and her kind of advice and stuff was all just what I thought young people would do well to listen to. I would only echo that.
And the thing that I noticed also, you are that kind of natural example of graduating in terms of work as well. So as you said in the beginning, you just started with something like, like some shit works, and then you just slowly build up to another jobs and another jobs to finally end on something big.
Yeah.
And people sometimes that are watching us thinks that maybe it's like, oh, what should I do to work on Battlefield? What should I do? It's sometimes it's not like this. You should be, somehow you should realize that it can take time. It can be something like graduation. So you have to start at something maybe that's less like prestigious, but teach you a lot of things, and that's when you really realize it, you can be ready for something bigger, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that I think I did. I don't want to put people off by saying it took me since 2008 because that's ages. I think I chronically throttled my career by just not ever wanting to work in-house, to be honest. I just had enough of that by that point, and I just kind of never wanted to go back. And I think if I'd been more willing to work in a studio again, my career would have been much quicker. So guys who are up for working in studio, because I know it's a great life. For people who love the studio life, your career will go much more quickly than mine. I didn't make great choices in terms of career progression. I was more concerned about being able to just kind of spend my time at home and sleep whenever I wanted, to be honest. So yeah, I don't want to put people off by saying it took years, because that's just me.
Yeah, but it's just normal, right? It's like you said, you can't be like immediately someone like that creates.
Well, I mean, maybe there are kind of Mozarts of concept art who just are geniuses, but I certainly wasn't ever a genius. I was always a bit of a grafter, really. I'd try and get out of work if I could, and if I couldn't, then I'd just slog through it, doing every mistake that I could, basically. I remember a guy at work once, when I was a car designer, told me something kind of profound. He was an odd guy, but he must have decided, I could see on his face that he decided to be honest with me for once that day. It was an odd day. At the end of the day, we'd all been really busy. We just sat down and chilled. And for some reason, he decided to tell me that, he goes, you're not brilliant. You're not a genius. You'll never be one of the best. You're just a kind of B-stream, B-level guy. But if you work hard, who knows? And I was like, that really hurts to hear that, to be honest. But actually, that was 100% true. And to be honest, I've stuck by that advice, because lots of people give you advice that's kind of like, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be great. That was so harsh, but it was like it provided a firm foundation on which to build something, rather than just bullshit, which is, you're amazing, you're genius.
Yeah, and it somehow like keeps you going when you have a goal in your life, And it's like when you have like the feeling that you have to chase for your goal, right? For something that you can achieve. If you like everything on the plate already, it's like, yeah, I get used to it,
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I heard a thing that people who, maybe you told me this, Jonas, people who win the lottery and people who are paralyzed initially are extremely happy and extremely depressed, respectively. But after a year or two, their mood has returned largely to where they were before. So if they were a happy person before they were paralyzed, they'll be pretty happy in their wheelchair or in their, kind of recovery. If they're a miserable person before they win the lottery, they'll be back to being a miserable person and getting ripped away from their family and friends and everything they know at work and so on by this huge influx of money will have made them more miserable. That was a really interesting insight. I thought that, that there's this kind of, if you get given everything you want in your life, it's not always a good thing. I mean, I got the car design job that I always wanted, and I hated it. And I thought, what is wrong with me that I've got everything I could ever dream of, and I don't like it. I'm just such an ungrateful, spoiled crap. But now I'm much happier that I've just gone the route that I did, because it's my, it's my thing.
It's like the moments are just beautiful in life, It's like not the whole life can be. So you have to have the goals to chase them and catch the rabbit all the time to actually have that need to live actually. Because if you have something that you wanna achieve, you have like you have more power and more feelings to actually live on Earth, right?
I completely agree. I mean, it's about, and I'm finding this to be more true the older I get. It's about just enjoying today rather than, dreaming too much about tomorrow. But on the other hand, you've always got something to do. You're always moving towards perceived, not an end state really, just to kind of get better at the dance. Because the more you do it, the more you enjoy it, and the more you enjoy it, the more you want to do it, and it just kind of goes round and round. And after a while, it just becomes your obsession. I'm obsessed with art. I do it every day. Whenever I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm still thinking about what I want to do later. It's just a complete obsession.
Yeah, it can be tricky if you are doing the same thing like for a longer period. And I somehow understand you in terms of like, trying different things, experimenting, and even like working from home, because you have like more freedom. It's at some point it's needed to actually have this experience with working with the team and with people around you, and at some place. But yeah, in the end, you can decide whatever you want to do, and whatever is better for actually you and for your artistic soul. So
that's true. I think you're right. You need an influx of new out of your comfort zone stuff. I mean, I certainly, working in London, although I didn't much enjoy the commute down to London every day, working in that office was fantastic. It was the best office environment I've ever worked
of course.
in. The bosses are really cool. I really like working with Jonas and Nadia and some of the other crew in the same room. Were just incredibly talented, and no one was obstructive. There was no kind of dicks in the room trying to block you. It was all just like, let's do this. Let's do a great job. And yeah, I loved it. I mean,
Yeah, it's amazing. Like it's amazing plus of being in the studio actually to have the constant support from people around you.
Yeah.
And if it happens, it's like it makes you really happy and you really enjoy working in this environment. So
I think it would be optimal to have a bit of time in both because, as an ongoing thing, because as you say, it's great to be in the studio, it's great to have people around who know what they're talking about, who are better than you, basically, and not easily impressed. That's always good. And then other times when it's just quiet and you are alone. I like to be alone, but just watch a quiet movie that I've already seen, or watch them on TV or something, or listen to an audiobook and work and just do 7 or 8 hours of really focused work another day. And that would be I think is probably my goal as a kind of concept artist, is to have some times where I'm required to be in an office and other times when I'm not, and just be able to control those two extremes. Because too much of one or the other is, I think, bad, and too little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at some point it's like getting the same thing, So it makes you a little bit bored maybe, and you are in search of some new, experimentations and inspiration actually.
Well, I find that I'm very boring in my routines. I like to just eat much the same food every day, wear the same clothes every day. Not the same clothes, I do occasionally go into them, but read the same kind of stories most days, and then occasionally just go nuts and do something completely different. But in my ideas and my thoughts, I like to travel all around. So read different stuff every day on the internet, read different wikis, watch different kinds of movies. So my intellectual journeys around the world are much more varied than my personal kind of physical ones. I tend to just live in the same 10-mile radius for years on end. I go to the same McDonald's every morning, stuff like that. I'm quite happy with my physical routines, but I need to have different thoughts, otherwise I start getting even more mad.
So where do you look for, and where do you find your inspirations? What do you try to research, watching some documentaries or traveling, or what really keeps you exploring your stuff?
Certainly, I know in Nadia's session, you guys, Jonas, were talking about your travel photography. That I learned a lot from your approach to travel photography, because I'm obviously a big fan of your photos. And now I just carry a camera everywhere, a decent, well, half-decent, cheap SLR camera with a zoom lens, and never take the super zoom lens. Obviously, you always have to be dealing with this kind of very short depth of field and very long zoom, which I really like. And just constantly be taking sort of photographic notes of everywhere you go. It does mean that you look like a real show-off because you put them on Facebook, but I just put them on Facebook because you can keep them there and know that they'll be safe, and you can access them on any device whenever you want, and you can always be like, I remember that moment. There was a really nice lighting on that mountain, or those people were really happy and I want to capture that, or whatever, and just try and evoke a mood rather than a specific image. So often, a lot of these images, I won't be trying to design a car, it'll just be get the feeling of speed, and I like the way the mountains felt that day, kind of thing. Or I don't know what these are, but I felt that the Venetian blinds that had all been destroyed by the wind or something felt like an appropriate vibe that I wanted to add to the image without any kind of serious attempts at internal logic. It was just a kind of mood evocation.
Yeah,
I like that feeling of mood.
Yeah, it happened that you see some interesting weather conditions or just light spot somewhere, and you would like to make a shot of it and then use your reference, right? It's really good. I also think about buying some proper camera, and because it's really tempting to actually start doing your own visual library, you know, on your hard drive, or
Absolutely.
just to be more
think-
freedom actually, because when you rely on the photos of the internet, you can find almost everything, but sometimes it takes ages, you know.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, to just
there
find
is
something that you really have in your mind. And when you have a camera around you and you can shot it like anytime, it's perfect, because you can just do it, and you have like a couple of minutes later you have the ready reference, right? You don't need to look and, you know, spend hours on Flickr or whatever to find actually photos. So
that's right. I mean, I do love spending hours on the internet looking for photos, and I have a huge
yeah,
archive of
it is. Sorry
strange
for interrupting. Yeah,
things that I
it
found. But
can be like amazing, and it can be like
yeah,
something that I always, when I search for something, I always find something that I don't really need at the moment, but I save it for later. So
yes,
that's the good idea. But
yes.
yeah, if you have like some tight deadline or something, it's like, well, I need to make something fast, and I can't really find it. So that's the way the camera would be quite needed. So.
And I would definitely recommend getting a decent camera with an actual proper lens, because a phone, they're okay, they're good for taking visual notes, but the noise is bad,
Yeah.
there's no zoom, and also you can get away with a lot if you've got a camera. People don't mind you taking photos generally. You just look like a kind of photographer. If you're taking pictures on a phone, it can be a little bit intrusive, and the results aren't as good. And also, I think I spent about 120 quid on my camera, and it was from a guy who'd moved up a level, so he got a new, more expensive camera and had all of the equipment for this one. Didn't need it anymore. I was just giving it away, basically. And for 120, I got 2 lenses, the body, the lens,
Awesome.
shade thing, the bag, the tripod, the card reader, the lot. So you can go on eBay and find a real nice deal, and you will not regret it. They're a great way to learn proper photography, I think. I'm just starting, but yeah, they're great. You can paint with lights as opposed to Photoshop, and you can put a frame around something around you and just capture it. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still like having a phone is only phone, right?
I think phone cameras are a lot better these days. I think the iPhone one's pretty
Yeah.
good, isn't it? But the one I've got like an old HTC, and it's hopeless.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No? Yeah, Wojtek tried to call me because he dropped. So let me just try to get him on board again.
So yeah, inspiration, guys. I think if you want to get some real inspiration in terms of technique as well as ideas, buy Obligon by Sid Mead. Then it's not very expensive. It's from his 80s, the height of his power basically in the 80s when he was absolutely the man. He's a bit old these days, and I think his work in the 80s is absolutely untouchable. He's a genius. Look at it. Look at how he does everything. His design is incredible. His presentation is just unbelievable. It's all done with acrylics, I think, or gouache, which makes it even more amazing. His perspective is always perfect. He just works really, really, really hard and thinks really hard. And you can see that he studies, every aspect. He's the complete package. I think he's got the painting ability, the design ability, the feel. Obviously, he can work to a brief because he's worked on these big movies. He's still self-employed. He's kind of, just lived his own life the way he wanted to. I would say, even if you're not a great fan of his particular style, get this book, because it will just, it'll give you a kick up the arse if you're kind of feeling a bit happy with yourself, or, I'm pretty good. Just wait till you see it. It's unbelievable. I can probably, can you see my, oh no, I'm showing my screen.
You are sharing your website right now.
I'll point it to the camera later on, but yeah, I do recommend it. Go on eBay and get it. It's about £50, and for some reason it's not as expensive as any of his other books, even though it's, I think, the best. And it's just got some. Although, let me just give you a little reading. The images are amazing, right? But let me just give you a little reading of what.
Did your screen just freeze, or?
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's working.
Oh, no,
it's working. It's working. Oh yeah.
I was scrolling, but.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe people that watching us right now, guys, if you have like any questions to Alex, feel free to pose them, and I will try to pick them up. Wojtek his internet just end up on the phone, so I don't know if he will be able to join us. I think that Jonas also left. So we are here, two of us, and if you have any questions, just feel free to pose them. And yeah, we are keeping going. So yeah, sorry, Alex.
So Jonas has been on the plane for like 24 hours.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just
Poor
almost
guy.
there. So
Yeah, I feel that pain. So yeah, Sid Mead says about his work on one of the pages, fantasy, whether the mind's proscenium frames dancing chimerae or becomes a gateway to worlds as yet unrealized, logical speculation is as much a part of the design process as prototype and specification. With the license of fantasy and the facility of imagination, the parsifal can come true in the word or picture as speculation and totally realized. He just talks nonsense, right, all the way through this book. But if you actually, it's like he's exchanged a simple word for a complicated word every time. And if you decode it, what he's actually just saying is, you know, it's really fun to draw stuff that's fantasy. But his work, his paintings are just unbelievable. So it makes up for the not very good writing. Yeah, do get that book.
So can you tell me once again what's the title of the book?
Oblagon. It's Oblagon.
Okay. Oblagon.
And it's got stuff from Aliens, Blade Runner, and just the other stuff that he was doing around the time he did Tron. So early 80s to mid 80s.
Awesome.
It's the absolute height of his excellence, I think.
Okay. So
No one else like it.
I will post it on our event page so people can see it actually.
And I think you can pick up a copy of that still. It's still in print, whereas most of his books become very expensive because he only prints a limited run and then they sell out.
But they are worth every price, right?
Oh, I would say so, yeah. I've got one called Sentinel, which is now very expensive on eBay. It's like £300. I don't think it's as good. I think Oblagon is the superior article. It does tend to, I mean, it's given my work a kind of very 80s flavour because I've always just been trying to rip him off. And that has resulted in a kind of rubbing off of his style, which, you know, it's not necessarily a great thing, but who cares, you know. As long as you can match styles with the art
it's amazing. So it's really amazing, man. I love that kind of Ferrari spaceships that are like above the water. Like, this is amazing, really.
I don't think I can claim credit for that because we were doing it. It was at a live workshop in the concept art workshop in London in 2013, and we were all sitting around a computer and a big plasma screen, and it was a kind of group. Like, I was in charge of the computer, but people were just shouting ideas, and I was just like, "Well, I think I just shouted about what should we do with these?" And someone was like, "Make them red, make them a Ferrari." I was like, "That's a great idea. Let's do that." So yeah, I can pretend that it's my idea in the work, but no, I think someone else. If anyone knows who suggested that, if anyone was there, just let me know.
Awesome. So yeah, it was once again it was Oblagon, concept of Sid Mead. So the book is also posted right now on Facebook, so you can guys check it out. And yeah, it's
I also get a £1 for every one that gets sold. So no, I don't really.
Yeah, it's another like must-have book. So
yeah, absolutely.
we would definitely recommend it.
I always look after my book, but this one is just tattered to shit, and it's all held together with grey sticky tape, and it's got coffee all over it, and it's the pages are all stuck together, and it's just I need to buy like a good copy. If I ever get like a bookshelf in a library in a house that I eventually own, then I'll get a good copy.
So what's your favorite movie? If you have if you can count any of the favorite ones that.
It's boring to sort of say I don't have a favorite movie. No one has a favorite movie, do they?
It's really tough to actually. Yeah, it's really tough to actually point to one or even two or even three. It's more like a couple of them.
I think I would definitely choose 2001 as probably my favorite, although I think it could be improved by a couple more jokes and maybe some more women. But apart from that, I think it's pretty much my favorite in terms of it does science fiction proud. People think of science fiction as kind of cheap sets and Spock ears and Doctor Who and all that kind of stuff, but actually science fiction is really just thinking about the future. What could be more interesting than the future? To me, it's the best. So yeah, I mean, as I say, I think the characterization of the astronauts was very good in that they were very kind of right stuff, steady kind of guys who didn't easily lose their head, and as were all the people who were working on the moon base. So I think it could have had a bit more human warmth, maybe at times. But apart from that, I think it's perfect. I think it's sublime. The effects still look amazing today. It was made before the moon landings even happened, and yet it's completely realistic.
Yeah, it's
just
very
an
convincing.
absolute confluence of different geniuses all working in one amazing thing. So yeah, that would probably be my favourite. I have to say, I really like. There's a movie called Barfly with Mickey Rourke, and it couldn't be more opposite from 2001. And that's probably my other favourite. And Aliens, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the same here. So you are showing us your sketches, your exploration sketches. How much time are you spending on that kind of? I couldn't call it even because it's quite detailed.
It's tricky to quite pin down because what I tend to do is design an idea on paper in like Biro, then sketch it in the computer, then build a model, a rough model. These are very rough, and then take lots of photographs of it from different angles, and then render those and pick the best one. So I tend to like to do a day of design and a day of painting, and have about 5 or 10 pictures at the end, which I'm happy with. So if you divide that time into 10, I guess it's 1 every 2 hours for a kind of 10-hour day for 2 times 2, I guess. Those whiskers I stole from Aaron Beck. Sorry, Aaron. I just think they censor whiskers. Yeah, so that's probably how it works out. I mean, these are collabs. This is with Joseph Culp, one of my friends, favourite artists. He's a complete nutcase. So yeah, I like to do collabs and kind of passing stuff back and forth. But for my own stuff, yeah, probably sort of 10 pictures in 2 days with a completely designed artifact.
Nice.
And yeah, that's the easiest way. And I love the fact that you can just take so many different images in 3D, and there's no pressure to do one really good. You can just do 12, and if one's getting boring, you can go to another one or put them all on a huge page. And okay, I've done a bit on this one, and then I'm going to do a bit on this one. And I have kind of an ADD approach to work. You know, I like to spend a maximum of about 4 minutes doing one thing, and then I'll get bored and do something else. And that attention span grows throughout the day. So at the end, I can probably spend a full 12 minutes doing one thing. But at the start, particularly, it's very scattershot. So I like to just do lots and lots of different things at the same time and see what works. All the stuff that doesn't work, get rid of it and pretend that it never happened. And it looks like you just can't fail because all the rubbish ones you just hide and throw them away. That's the good thing about a sketchbook, is that you can't do that. You just put everything, even the rubbish, in there. And it's much more a real reflection of your kind of progress, because you just, every little helps.
Yeah, you said you mentioned that 3D is kind of your tool that you use a lot. How you can actually tell to people that that are like concept artists wannabe, how much it really helps in your perception, and is it like worth to learn this tool? What do you actually think about using a 3D to do concept art?
I don't think it's essential, but I do think it's an enormously helpful thing. I think it's a bit like, I'm not very good at drawing in perspective, so I can make a little model and take lots of pictures of it and know that the perspective is mathematically perfect, and then put it into Photoshop and just use that perspective. You can see ones where I haven't used any 3D underlay, and they're always a little bit flat. They're more graphic-y.
Okay. Yeah.
Dynamic, I think. Whereas the ones that you've got 3D to play with, you can just find the best angle rather than the easiest to draw angle. So I kind of look at Sid Mead's stuff where he draws it all by hand and it's all perfect, and I realise how good he is, because I have to use 3D more or less all the time just to get the perspective right. Otherwise, it just looks like something from the Middle Ages. You know, when like they draw a building and it gets bigger in the distance and stuff like that. It looks like that when I try and draw a perspective.
You are using Modo, right?
I'm using 3ds Max.
3ds Max.
I got 3ds Max years ago on a CD-ROM from some guy, and just started using it just because that was the one that I got on the CD-ROM cracked. And I used it and used it and used it, and eventually Autodesk gave me a real copy to do
All
a
right.
magazine
So
thing.
this is how you
So
actually
because
started.
I sort of mentioned that I've been using a dodgy copy when they asked me to do it, and they're like, all right, we'll give you one then. So yeah, just keep stealing it for long enough and they give you one free. Don't ever repeat that. I didn't say that.
So you actually started using that, and it lasts till day, right?
Yeah, I still use it. I still discover new things that I'd never learned before. I think 3ds Max is an amazing thing. I mean, I'm definitely
Yeah.
an evangelist for the brand. I think it's a superb tool. And
Yeah,
it's huge.
I'm using the 3ds Max as well
It's
right
just
now.
enormous. It's like the fun never ends. Basically, it's like Lego where you can make all of your own shit.
Yeah, actually, you can just explore and learn new things every day. Just
Yeah,
try.
I do all the time. I mean, I'd love to kind of tell you that I had a complete handle on it, and yet there's still hundreds of buttons that I don't know what they do. And every so often, I'll just be watching YouTube tutorials on one thing I need to learn, and click on
Yeah,
another
exactly.
one by accident.
Yeah.
And you're like, no way, I didn't know you could do that. And that gives you like 20 new ideas of things you can build because you're like,
Exactly, yeah. And sometimes it's
wow,
like you can do it actually, but way around, and you spend like 100 clicking with different options and stuff, and it's like under one button. Sometimes it
absolutely.
happens.
And it's
So
such a joy, isn't it? It's like going through an industrial revolution. You just
yeah,
discovered a new technique for making stuff that you could never make before. In fact, I've got a quote on this, which let me just see what you think about this.
okay.
Bits and bobs.
Yeah.
I put it on my Facebook on my about. So if you want to find it, go to my Facebook and go to about and scroll down to details about you. Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes ever. This is from T.H. White's The Once and Future King, where
Awesome.
Merlin, the magician, is advising the young King Arthur. So he says, "The best thing for being sad," replied Merlin, beginning to puff and blow, "is to learn something. That's the only thing that never fails. You may grow old and trembling in your anatomies. You may lie awake at night listening to the disorder of your veins. You may miss your only love. You may see the world around you devastated by evil lunatics, or know your honor trampled in the sewers of baser minds. There is only one thing for it then, to learn. Learn why the world wags and what wags it. That is the only thing which the mind can never exhaust, never alienate, never be tortured by, never fear or distrust, and never dream of regretting. Learning is the only thing for you. Look at what a lot of things there are to learn. Pure science, the only purity there is. You can learn astronomy in a lifetime, natural history in 3, literature in 6, and then after you've exhausted a myriad lifetimes in biology and medicine and theocriticism and geography and history and economics, why, you can learn to start to make a cartwheel out of the appropriate wood, or spend 50 years learning to beat your adversary at fencing. And after that, you can start again on mathematics until it's time to learn to plow." It's just
Yeah,
it's amazing to me, I think.
it's really good. And actually, it was one of my prepared questions to you. What are your favorite quotes? So you somehow like feel it before. So actually, we can grab it and also post it so people can get really inspired, because it's really
Well,
inspiring.
I put that on my Facebook and I'll give it to you. The other one that goes with it, I think, is regarding starting a long project, which is going to take you a long time. The way to deal with an impossible task is to chop it down into a number of merely very difficult tasks and break each one of them into a group of horribly hard tasks, and each of them into tricky jobs, and each of them into things to do, and each of them into, bits and bobs you've got to get sorted by the end of the day. And it's just a day-by-day, small job done, another brick in the wall, and eventually the wall is built. So that would be my 2 favorite quotes in life, really. I think persist,
Awesome.
and it'll be fine.
Awesome.
I'm still looking at my list of other things to talk about because I've got tons of stuff I want to get onto. So
Yeah, man, feel free to talk about anything. So just
Evangelion. Who likes Neon Genesis Evangelion? I think if anyone wants to see the most complete, most bizarre, nightmarish yet strangely believable mindfuck ever, I think go and watch Neon Genesis. And maybe you need to be a depressed teenager to watch it. That's when I first watched it, and it really hit me in the guts. But even now I watch it and I think the editing, the design, the restraint, he never gives you what the easy choice would have been to give you as an audience member. He just gives you what he wants to give you. It's a lesson. It's Wow. I think Misato and Ritsuko are the most complicated characters I've ever seen on TV. They're deep, they're three-dimensional people, and yet they're all in this bizarre, dreamlike world of giant robots and monsters and stuff. It just blows my mind. I think it's a masterpiece. It's the 2001 of TV. John Berkey, Sid Mead, John Harris. Go and check those guys out. Alan Moore talks about magic, how magic affects us in the real world, i.e. Words and how they can control people, how they can influence people, how they can record ideas. Magic is real. It just exists only in people's minds.
Yeah, I will post some of them on our event page right now.
Actually, I'll tell you what. Just scroll down. This was how I made out a lot of the difficult times financially, doing little cars for video games. And I think if you want a bit of money and you want to get into the business, this was one definite way of doing it. I can't speak to the character design or any other aspect because I didn't do it. I don't know for sure. But this way of just doing little cars in a very flat perspective, front and back, different options, they'll pay you for it. So if you like cars, if you're a person who likes to think about cars and draw cars and stuff, this would be the job for you because, you know, they pretty much give you a free rein as long as you do what they say. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course, and it shows like your different ideas, and actually this is like a sense of concept art. It's not like we are just repeating it countless times. It's not like only about doing nice, you know, pictures. No. It's more like ideas. But of course, if you have like a good presentation, it also counts as your class.
These are very much concept art because you can see that all the perspective lines don't ever converge. There's no vanishing point, i.e. they're all parallel, which means that you get this weird kind of, it looks like the back of the car is kind of twisting because there's no perspective. Your brain normally expects a car to foreshorten as it gets further away. And you can do nice sketches of cars where there's lots of perspective, but you can't really use them very easily as design images. Like the modeler will come back and say, look, I can't really see round the side of that car because the perspective is so intense. Can you do me one where I can just see both the front and the side and the top at the same time, and then the back and the side and the top, so he can then build it. So that is very much a sacrifice to concept art over kind of, for example, these sketches, which are a bit more like the front wheel isn't the same kind of oval as the back wheel. There's perspective foreshortening, and it's a bit more dramatic. Yeah, so get into kind of, it is a good example of perspective. You can't really see round the side there what's going on. So these were the ones that got me into it. These were like 2009, I think, 2010. This is a photo that I just chopped and taken the back off because I thought it looked cool for no reason. And these are the ones that I sent to Rat Rod Studios, who gave me my first little job. And Pat Toulouse, if he's out there, he was a very understanding boss. I made lots of mistakes and messed up a lot, and he was very understanding and got me into it. He was a good sort of coach and listened to my tantrums and.
Yeah, but look how many variations do we have. It's amazing because it shows like different approach on on your ideas and making more variety.
That's right. They're obsessed with that. They like to be able to see different options, and it takes the pressure off you to do one good one, because often if you have to do one, you're like, oh no, I've got 3 sort of good ideas, but which one do I pick? If you just do them all really rough, like on the left here, these are really rough, and he can look at those and go, yeah, okay, keep going with those, they're okay. Give me 4 real, that's like a half day's work, I guess, to kind of paint just one and then change the headlights 4 times. And then he'll go, yeah, okay, I like the front from 4 and the back from 2. Join them together, and that's exactly what you then go and do. But then this took like a weekend. This was really boring, this one. You have to be really precise. And I'm a messy, sloppy artist, so this was like a real exercise in tidiness. But yeah, it's good. It's good to be out of your comfort zone.
Of course.
A little bit different.
Yeah, and you have like a different like orthographic shots as well. You can see like the only front, only back or side.
Yeah, the orthographic is part of the deliverable. So at the end, they'll sign off on the design and be like, "Yeah, that's cool. Now do the front, side, top, back to model, so we can model from." And if you do that, you'll find that it's quite a tricky task with curving surfaces to do like an orthographic that then doesn't result in a model that's just a nightmare. So I found it was a good idea to download or buy a model of a car that's about the same class as the one you want to work on, and use that as a sort of underlay, and then you can make sure the perspective is more or less correct. But that also then means you can use that as a model to just do quick renders off to get your orthographic, because if you don't do the orthographic, it won't pay you.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely critical, and they're so boring. Orthographic is my least favorite thing ever.
Yeah, I hate the orthographic as well, to be honest.
Oh. So anything you can do that makes it easy, because that used to always be my Sunday night job, because I'd spend all week working on it, go out Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday night I'd have the orthographic, hand it in on Monday morning for dailies on Monday or Tuesday. And yeah, it was just like, all you can do is get a load of weed, drink a coffee, and just settle into like 4 really boring hours of it, because it's not going to go away.
It needs to be done to, as you said, like to show that modelers to not have like any.
Yeah.
They don't have they can't have like any misunderstandings of the design. So
no,
actually,
it wastes money and time.
Yeah. If you actually do concepts like sketching or something, you have to show them from like almost every possible angle, right?
That's right. And I want to show you these because I'm sure car guys can look at this and be like, I could do that. These aren't very good. Look how tall that is at the back there. That looks weird. And just be like, confident that they could do it too. It's not something that you have to be some special, genius to do it at all. It's really quite straightforward once you get into it, and it's a nice little earner. Battlefield paid really well. I did that, and I didn't have to work for like 6 months after that. I could just do whatever I wanted. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's long since run out, but yeah, that was a good time just to work on my stuff and play Grand Theft Auto for like a month.
Yeah,
Like
this Batmobile stuff is freaking amazing, man.
So this is for Brainstorm. I don't know if you guys play along with the Brainstorm challenges. They're good fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of working to a brief. Like you have a sort of specific thing that you have to theme that you have to work towards, and everyone has a go. And it's great just seeing all the different entries. I mean, I couldn't resist it because I'd always wanted to do a Batmobile, and I'd never had a reason to do it until I had the chance to show off by doing one. I'm a massive show off, so if I get a chance to show off and do it, then I'll do it. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. I wish I could work on a Batman film and just do Batmobiles all day. It was great fun. Because I love the Batman Begins Tumblr. That's one of my favourite designs ever, so it was going to be fun. And obviously the Batman Returns one as well. So both of those are just incredible. I think the Batman Returns is it looks ridiculous, but it doesn't at the same time. It looks fantastic. It looks really cool. So yeah, this was a kind of mix of those two jammed together, I guess.
Yeah, I really love how this your Batmobile concept look from front view.
It's like the most simple shape, isn't it? Just kind of put the
but it works perfectly. It works perfectly.
Cars out of the way, because I imagine he's going to be going down a motorway and just pushing cars out of the way, probably like quite gently because he's Batman. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, but he wants to get to where the Joker is ASAP. He's going to be facing all kinds of stuff, and he's going to want to shove it out of the way as easily as he can. And I think all of the kind of wings and stuff, they look awesome, but they're just going to get snapped off. So, you want to it's something that Bruce Wayne and Alfred can build with, like, what's his name, Mr. Fox's help, Morgan Freeman's help. So it's all, like, really good materials, but it's got to be secret, and it's got to be really simple, like military technology on the sly. And if you look at, in Syria, the resistance movement has actually made homemade tanks, and they control them with, like, PlayStation controllers and stuff, and I thought that was just an amazing, brave thing to do. That's kind of maybe the approach Bruce Wayne would take, except he would have billions of pounds to play with as well, so he'd make him really high tech. So I can't show anything from the Battlefield concept art, which, to be honest, isn't very interesting. It's just more of what you'd already seen. But these are some of the screen grabs from the trailer and so on, which show the designs. So these are just generic cop cars that I had to kind of redesign. Generic helicopter, It's got to look like a real helicopter, but not be quite the same, but still evoke the same Black Hawk look. So you just move stuff around, you change bits and bobs here and there, and that means that it's legally allowed to be in the game, but it still gives players the feeling of, you know, actually using a car that they're familiar with, or a bike that's sort of something you'd expect to see on the street. That's very common in computer games, because unless you've got an enormous budget, you can't buy the licenses to the real cars, unfortunately. So until the modders get their hands on it on the PC version, you have to just put in a kind of a fake GTA car.
Yeah, exactly.
The same, but isn't. And it's actually a really, really fun job, because you basically get to redesign all of your favorite cars again, you know, and make them look like they're in a kind of alternate reality where they're, you know, it's not Chevrolet, it's something else that's very similar, you know. They're legally different enough that they can't see you.
It's Alex Brady new brand.
Exactly. Yeah. I think in that world, I am king, and it's a terrifying world.
Oh, these are so hot, man. This is so crazy. It's perfect. Yeah, I really love it.
Stolen directly from Sid Mead. He did a gyro car which had a front and a back wheel.
Yeah, with two big wheels. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the silver coach, and that's one of my favorite images. And I was like, well, I want to copy that. I don't think this would need a gyro, because the wheels would contain the sufficient angular momentum to stand it upright. But how it turns, I'm not really sure. I think you'd need some kind of turning angle in the front and back wheels. But I just like the idea of a car that becomes more sculptural than a vehicle. It's more just like a room that happens to have some. It's like a moving architecture, basically.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the driving is taken care of by a machine. Your route is taken care of. It's just the most efficient route that the traffic can be routed through the city, like hormones are routed through the brain, something like that. So you could just sit back and chill and watch CNET and
nice.
Just have a nice time. You can also tell I just discovered opacity maps at that point, because I was like, wow, you can draw windows on the side of your car with just a JPEG image rather than having to model it. That's a huge, huge help.
Yeah, it's crazy. I really like it. It's so cool. Just like your whole series of this.
Yeah, just because you can do like so many from 3D, if you take 30 seconds, you might as well just do loads and, you know, play around with them, because each one takes 15 minutes. This was a tank I built for class. I ran a small class for TAD before it changed to ACA, and now it's basically I had to draw a tank, and I wasn't sure how to present it, because I started to really enjoy building this tank, you know, putting this giant gun on it. It's starting to be really fun, and then Syria kind of collapsed into chaos, and I started to feel really dodgy about it, enjoying weaponry, building weaponry so much, and it's kind of still a problem. I'm still not quite sure how to resolve it, because on the one hand, I love tanks and jets, and on the other hand, you know, you're seeing them being used by monsters to kill people, and it's a tricky one. So the best kind of compromise I could come up with was to just steal the idea of that guy in Tiananmen Square who, out of nowhere, just decided to stand in front of the tanks, and who knows what happened to him. This kind of anonymous hero, like a saint basically, who stood up to the tank, and the tank stopped. And I thought, what a beautiful. Well, obviously everyone thought, what a beautiful symbol of bravery and so on. That was the only way I could kind of make it okay in my mind that this wasn't weapon porn, and as much. I mean, it still is. I mean, it's like saying, look at my big gun.
Yeah,
it's a bit fucked up, right? But I mean, I don't know. That was the only time I've ever tried to be political in my work ever. I think I never will again either. But that was the only way I could make it okay. If anyone wants to go to find out a little bit more about cars and making models of spaceships and stuff, I did put a couple of
tutorials
on here. They're not really tutorials, they're just big pictures of my notes that I was doing to make the magazine articles or the classwork or whatever. But if you want to go on there, there should be a high-res copy of my Facebook, and I can give you the link. But I think you should be able to read most of the dialogues on there. And that talks you through just building a simple low-poly model and then mesh smoothing it and adding some textures that you've drawn in Photoshop really fast. I can't be doing with UVW unwrapping, I hate it, so I just do a side view and stretch the texture over the mesh that way, and then paint it in Photoshop, because often what happens is you get little places where the mesh, the texture rolls over the top or under the bottom, and you can paint them out in Photoshop. So that's a quick way of making a fun spaceship. If you've got like a day or an afternoon, have a go at just making a little spaceship low poly and then mesh smoothing it, and you'd be surprised how quickly you can get something that looks like it is actually quite sort of dynamic.
Actually, like the organic shapes, I thought at first it's quite hard to get them from 3ds Max, but after a while you can realize it's not that hard anymore.
I think it's quite hard to control them.
Yeah,
but it's very easy to make them, and then you can kind of learn the way.
Yeah, especially when you incorporate like a freeform tool, and you want to like transform your mesh. It can be a little bit distracting when you just didn't have that, like when you collapsed all, and you can't just go back, right? You can't really go back, and the mesh is dense already, and you have all smoothed, and you just apply the transformations, and it really creates like a little bit strange shapes. But if you somehow like know how to, it can be really amazing to create like very, very organic shapes that people just think, oh, I will use ZBrush as instead of, but you can do it actually.
I mean, I can't speak to ZBrush because I've never used it. I'm ashamed to say I've never had a go. And I
have the same. That's
an incredible tool.
Yeah, that's what I only see how people from our studio or my friends using it. It's really amazing, and I think it's the next step to actually learn it. We should learn it together. So.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I was going to say about Max though that it is quite compromised in a lot of ways, and it is difficult to control the surfaces. Not like an Alias where you can control the surfaces down to an incredible degree of accuracy, unless you build a very accurate model, which I just can't be bothered to do. But I do find that those compromises result in stuff that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen to do, but which jumps off the page at you as being something quite cool. And after a while, you learn to trust your instincts on it, and you know that if you do something that, if you stretch out a shape in a particular way, it'll probably look cool. And if you just keep messing with it for a while, you'll find something. And I find that, I literally find the design rather than design it. I'll just push stuff around until something starts to kind of look interesting, and then pursue that interest. What is it that's interesting about it? How do I bring it out more? And go that way. And it just sort of meanders around. And by the end, you've created something that you had no idea was going to happen at the start.
Yeah.
I really love that. It's like it just sort of condenses out of nothing. Like, where does it come from? I didn't make it. 3DS didn't make it. We made it together. It's like I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on where it's come from, really. All the different things you've ever seen in your life multiplied by 3DS's difficult to understand controls.
Yeah, exactly.
Results in this bizarre mixture.
Can you go back to your gallery once again, to your work?
Which one would you want to go back to, sorry?
If you can go back and show that that wingy spacecraft that has like wings. I don't know how to call it. It's something that you mentioned me when we met. I would really like interested to. It's tough to actually say. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is freaking cool. Can you tell us a little bit more story behind this picture?
So this is for Bastian Cox, independent movie Is This Heaven? He asked me to do some sketches of a bomber inspired by Macross, and what's that anime that's set on the carrier with the really cool jets? Yoki-Kazi? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's something like that. So I had a good look at that and thought, yeah, that's amazing. built the jet, and that was what you saw in the previous slideshow, this one, Chicken Jet. And it just occurred to me that it does look quite like the wings are able to flex, but it's still driving on a conventional landing gear. So it's got these kind of normal wheels that come down, and then the bombs wander over and load themselves into the base of the plane, like a kind of big dog. So the bombs walk over, and it occurred to me that you get the pterodactyls walking on their wings, and
Yes.
do exactly the same thing. So you get this kind of awesome wing shape when you look at a pterodactyl. The wing kind of goes down and then hooks back, and it just looks really dynamic. I was like, right, I need to steal that idea.
It looks awesome.
And that's exactly what I thought would happen. So this thing, I imagine as it takes off, it looks a bit bizarre. It must gallop along, and then as it comes into land again, it'll be kind of landing like a bird or something like a crow or whatever. It just come and run along the ground, which look quite funny. And then it just, it looks. I thought it looked as if the bombs were being inserted up its jacksie, as it were. So it's got this funny expression on its face, like it's cold. As they're being loaded into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I really love this series. It's just amazing, man. It's something really like different that actually we can like see every day. You know, it's really crazy.
So if you ever look up the BMW Gina concept, Gina, it's a kind of chassis covered with a sort of shark skin plastic, and as the doors open, it all creases and stuff, and it looks amazing. I think the technology needs to catch up a bit so that it can self-clean, self-repair. If it's damaged by sunlight or someone stabs it, it can just fix itself. So it's not quite there yet. But in 50 years' time, that kind of soft machine, I think, will be just ubiquitous. You know, because who wouldn't want a door with no hinge gap? You know, there's just nothing there. It just opens up with a smooth surface when it shuts again. That'd be ideal. So what else is there? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. This is for sci-fi promotion material for their TV program. I haven't seen the show. I read the review and I was like, oh, I'll probably give it a miss. But like, they basically wanted a kind of Mad Men in space. Everyone's been asking for that kind of serious science fiction treatment of a TV show. So I was hoping that's what it would be. So this is what they asked for. They asked for a kind of 60s style rocket and a moon base. And I had no idea. So these were my first sketches of, like, I imagine JFK had a moon base, and after he was assassinated, he went away to his moon base to hide out and like run the world from space. I think the buck stops here is actually like Lyndon Johnson or somebody, but I'm sure the chat will correct me on that. And they said, no, we need you to do what we asked, so can you do it again? And it ended up being this image for the front of the building, which is about 30,000 pixels wide. That was a bit of a strain on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
And they put it on the front of the building. And then this one was a kind of, these were both based on sketches that they'd done, so I had no decisions in terms of the layout of the image.
All right.
I fought them on making. I had to make the family look at the rocket, because before they wanted it looking at, just sort of posing, looking to the camera. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I need you to look at the rocket, otherwise I'm not doing it. I'll quit. So yeah, it was a complete nightmare, basically.
It has definitely that Sid Meat vibe.
Yeah, they are specifically for this kind of painted look, which was super, super fun to do, and you know, it's my favourite thing. It's painted with black,
awesome,
Humboldt colours.
How much time did it take you to create this one?
These were quite long. These ones went over. It was quite nice to actually be able to spend like 3 days on a picture rather than 3 hours. I'm normally so impatient that I'll just, you know, I'll get bored and I'll do it an afternoon and then another afternoon, and that'll be that. So this one took a bit longer. It was really super high res. As I say, this was about 8,000 pixels wide, and if you go right down to the lowest scale, it's brush strokes rather than pixels of rendering. So it was nice to have that kind of, it felt almost authentic. It was a complete fake because I did it over a 3D model, over a sketch they'd made of like this window and stuff. But it was really fun interpreting their idea in the best I could and fighting for stuff that I wanted to put in there. Like I wanted to put this sea in there. They wanted like a desert before, something that looked really boring. And then like I wanted the satellite dish. And, you know, getting my ideas through kind of diplomatically, and they were a great team to work for. I really enjoyed working. It was James Kay's company, Concept Arts, and they were just fantastic. I really liked working with them. And they, yeah, it was quite a fun little project that. And,
when was that?
Yeah,
When was that?
That was
year?
August or September.
Oh, right.
And that really got me out of a scrape because I had no money. That's always the way it is. I just run out of money and then start to look for a new job.
Nice.
Yeah, so you probably could be better at the planning stuff. Oh, actually, okay. So this is sometimes, right? It's really fun to sort of try and tell a story through the picture. So rather than just have a kind of action shot, try and tell the viewer, if they look carefully, they can figure out from clues what's happening. So I wanted to do that here. So in the story of the time machine, he sends the time machine into the future, and I wanted to do that. So what happened is he sent it into the future of his lab, and his lab disappeared, is overgrown and abandoned 50 years in the future, full of plants and other crap. And it's done that thing like in Terminator 2, where it kind of a ball of something appears and then evaporates, and all that's left is the Terminator and like a red hot circle or sphere where he's been, you know, where the matter has been just zapped to the future or something. So everything that was touching the sphere is now red hot and melting. But at first, you probably just not really understand what the hell's going on. So I wanted to do pictures that people would be a bit baffled by at first and have to kind of figure it out and have a little puzzle to solve.
Yeah, that has a little bit more story hidden, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, what is this strange shaped thing? What is it? A car? Is it? I don't get it. What are those lights? Is it a police car? I don't get it. And hopefully people would kind of get a kick out of completing the puzzle themselves, which I always do when I look at people's work. I really like. It's got something going on that is beyond the immediate.
Yeah.
As well as having a good composition and a good kind of, you know, and a thing that hits you in the face is you've got to see it like a nice colour. So, you know, that's a nice blue, or that's a nice whatever. But there's more depth there. That's kind of my goal. Because if you're going to be spending 3 or 4 days on a picture, you want it to be something you're interested in. Otherwise, it's just drive you insane.
So, what are like, if you have like any things that you like to do also, like besides doing art, is like something that maybe makes you relaxed or, you know, refresh your mind, or just, you know.
You'll have noticed from the live feed from my camera, I look like I'm dressed like a mime or something, some kind of gay mime. It's because I've actually applied for gender reassignment, so I'm going to try and go through that over the next 3 years. So that's recently been my big hobby. I've been learning to like do eye makeup and what clothes look not too ridiculous. I should do a shout out at this point. A friend of mine, Robin, she was really, really supportive and kind of really pushed me to just follow my dream on this one. So yeah, a shout out to Robin Doody for pushing me into this and you know, just kind of giving me the confidence and also telling me not to be such a pussy.
So it's more like you had this dream like for the whole life, right?
Absolutely, yeah. From earliest childhood, it was always something that was on my mind, and I managed to kind of squash it as a teenager and as a 20-something by thinking, well, you like girls, that probably means it's all just in your mind. And then I found that it wasn't going away, and it was ruining all my relationships with everybody. I was like being a kind of fake person. I felt unhappy, and I felt like I wasn't being honest with any of my friends, which means that you've always got this kind of wall around you, like with your girlfriend, with your friends, with your family, and everything. Even when something goes really well, like something happens in your life that's good, like a job, or it always underneath has got this kind of undercurrent of this is shit. And it's always there nagging at you, and it just never goes away. And I looked up on the internet, like, right, is this ever going to go away, or is it something that is going to resolve itself? And no, it isn't, basically. Everyone who's got it, they're all the same. Well, there's two kinds. There's people who know that basically they transition before they're 20. They're gay, and they become women very easily, and it's that you would never know that they existed. They're the first set. The second set is transition tend to be more in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and they are more difficult, obviously, because you've got testosterone and stuff going through your body for those years, and it never goes away. These people, they leave it longer and longer. They get married, they have children, they become successful professionals, trying to sort of be the archetype of the man that they think they should be, and they get to 60 or 70, and then they have to transition because it's not gone away in that time. And I just thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be the sort of person who's despairing all his life about being born in the wrong body, and then get to old age and be really regretful and feel like I've wasted my life and wasted all the chances I could to have good relationships with people. And I thought, well, fuck this. Let's do it. Let's just do it, and no time to waste. So I think it's going to take me about 3 years. I've applied for the hormones and the chemicals, and then you can get like plastic surgery to make your face look less masculine. So I'm saving up for that.
So you actually started like a couple months ago, right?
I decided in my mind that I was going to do it on New Year, after New Year, and then I got a really awesome job working on pre-production on like one of my favorite directors. So it was kind of like, shit, should I put this off because I've got this amazing job? I don't want it to be kind of messing with my work. And I was like, nah, nothing can put you off. You've got to do it. So the first week of this year was like, I got my dream job, and I have no money, but I'm working on this amazing job, and I'm going to, you know, come out and just put it on Facebook and tell all my family, tell all my friends, and then tell everyone on Facebook in that sequence. And it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, it was like one of the most. This month has been one of the best times of my entire life. I've been having a great time. I love it. So it feels like the right choice.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear because actually you told me that you just wanted to feel actually be happy finally, and if it's really good for you, for your attitude, it's,
well,
you know.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I think being a woman is easy for women, because obviously it's not. It's actually really tough, and I think it's not going to just solve all of my problems. But it's a depressing problem that seems to make everything else more difficult to deal with, and made life just seem pointless. The future just seemed like a waste of time. I was just feeling really, really down. I wanted to like just hang myself or something. I was like, that's ridiculous. What can you do about this? And this is the only thing I can do. So this is actually way better than the alternative, even though I'm going to look pretty odd.
So you finally decided you are doing it, and you are in the progress of it, and you are feeling happy with it. So that's good, right?
Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, it makes me a nicer person to be around. So hopefully my friends are happy about it too. I do look a bit funny. I'm not going to deny it. But I just feel so good that I just think, well, fuck it, whatever. You know.
Yeah, but you can't really live your life with make others only happy, you know, like
exactly.
It's not about being egoistic, you know, like self-centered or something, but you also need to be happy with your life, and people need
I
to
think to be
understand.
nice to other people. Yeah, I agree. People say, oh, I couldn't do it because it would hurt my family and blah blah blah. I want to make them happy, and you think, well, what's going to make them happy? You being really miserable and depressed and not telling them why, or trying to fix the problem, and 2 or 3 years later the problem's gone and you can just get on with your life. I mean, like we were saying before about paralysis or winning the lottery, after a year you're going to be back to where you were before. So if you were neurotic before, which I was, I'll still be neurotic afterwards. I like grinding despair all the time.
Yes.
I was actually worried. I was worried the first week because I got this job and I was like, shit, what if not being depressed means I can't do any work that's good? What if I needed to be depressed to kind of focus my mind sufficiently to get into the work? And that was a genuine concern. I really wasn't sure whether I could do work that I liked and the clients liked if I wasn't horribly depressed. And it seems fine. It seems okay. So that was my main worry. I was like, shit, what if I have to, you know, stay a guy or a fake guy to work, because I love work and I love being alive, and the two, if that's the case, are mutually exclusive. So
yeah, but as far as you are like a professional, it shouldn't really, you know. But you know, we actually can't really imagine how hard it is to make that kind of decision, and how many courage do you need to have to actually switch with your, you know, sex. And it's a little bit like, you know, I can't really imagine it, but I really somehow admire it, you know, like I just
I don't know if I can really accept that. I don't know if I can accept that as, I mean, I'm very grateful, thank you, but I think really the way I would think about it, if you're a straight guy or a straight girl, this is not something that's ever occurred to you as something you ever want to do. Imagine you woke up one morning and you had like some kind of tumor growing out of your dick or your eye or something, and you'd be like, shit, I want to get rid of this. I want to change this. It's making me miserable. It looks bizarre. People look at me funny in the street. I want to get rid of it. So you go to the doctor, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, you need to go to see an endocrinologist. Wait for 2 months with this gross thing on your face. And you're like, fucking hell, come on, get on with it. And then you go and see the endocrinologist, and he's like, okay, yeah, we'll get you on hormones. That'll take about 3 years. Then you need to pay about 20 grand to get it removed, and then you'll be fine. And you're like, well, shit, okay, that's pretty rough, but if that's the only choice, then that's what I've got to do. And therefore, it's not really a brave thing to do. I don't think it's much harder not to do it than to do it. You know what I mean? To live with the tumor on your face, making you sad. I know it seems vain to like spend all that money on plastic surgery on your face. I guess it is a bit, but it's just you want it. I just want to. I don't know. I want to. It's hard to describe. But that would be how I'd analogize it. It's like, imagine you've got this medical thing you want to get sorted out. You want to get sorted out soon. You're going to look a bit funny in the meantime. You're going to have some weird like bandages, and you're going to get a few funny looks. But it's progress. It's moving in the right direction. It's getting the thing treated, as opposed to living with it and just thinking that your life is over.
Yeah, I don't know if I can somehow compare it to doing a works. Like you start with something that doesn't maybe look good, and in progress, it will get better. So that's somehow maybe the same kind of thing.
I mean, I completely agree, and I even made a little blog to track my progress because I found that the sketchbook that I made on concept art was so useful in that exact thing. Like, I decided to be a concept artist, didn't know how to go about it, just sort of started in complete ignorance, really, and just kept at it. And after 2 or 3 years, I was. And I thought, well, that's the principle I'm going to use, because I've got to learn how to walk right, I've got to learn how to talk right, you know, you've got to change your voice just through force of will, basically. Your body language is all different, the way you sit is different, etc., etc., etc. The way you dress, the way you have to do makeup, which is a whole new thing I've never learned before. You have to get your face all de-follicalized or whatever. All of this stuff which I've never learned before. I'm suddenly thrown into the deep end. And I think, well, the only way to do it is just to do it. And so that's why I've been embarrassing people by turning up completely dressed as a girl, happy as Larry, basically, but looking, a complete state, and just being like, well, this is it. I've got to jump in at the deep end. And they also say that.
But they will also be that kind of people that are not open about that kind of stuff, and that's really their problem, I guess, because
that's exactly right.
You need to feel confident, right? You need to feel confident. Actually, when I was about to meet you, I felt like I didn't know what to expect, because I never met that kind of person in real life, to talk to them, but I felt really excited because it was like another experience in life, and I'm just open, and I'm just don't really care if someone feels cool with it, and if someone is happy, I just appreciate it, and I'm just not telling oh fuck, how are you doing? What are you doing? It's not like this. So that's how
people have questions like that, and I think that's a legit question. Why the hell would you do this? Because there is a reason. But that's what really comes to your mind at first. Why did you do it? Because you were super nice, cool guy. But if you want to do it, just do it. Why not, right? So and I would give that advice to anyone about anything. Like if you are, for example, if you're gay, if you're transgender, if you're lesbian, if you're whatever, come out. It's amazing. You just tell everybody, because then all of a sudden it's not your problem anymore. You can just get on with your life, which is lovely. Trust me. If anyone's on the fence about this, or they're in the closet and they're a bit worried that all of their friends are going to abandon them, and because they've heard their friends say something homophobic once, or their family's going to abandon them, just do it. Because honestly, if you make a little blog about your life, explain why you want to do it, maybe link to some videos of other people that have done it, who have been successful, and then send that to them, and with a message. Honestly, I think I had one bad response. Someone did a nasty cartoon, which they put it on my Facebook repeatedly, and I got kind of upset about it. But looking back, I just should have been less of a baby about it. Really, it's a cartoon. Come on. And that's it. Everyone else has been supportive. And I'm sure that people are going to be like, have you heard? Have you heard? He's going to be a trans changed into a woman? That's bizarre. But after a while, the bizarreness just kind of wears away. Like, people just get used to it, I've noticed.
Yeah,
and after, if you just jump and just be like, this is it, you're the top of the gossip columns for like a week, and then everyone just forgets and doesn't care, because most people have more important things to worry about, like themselves. And if you're a happy person, they're more than happy for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, go for it. I would say that to anybody. Go for it.
And you told me also that it really helped you to stay relaxed, you know, like become relaxed guy, and like you open yourself and you just started don't really care about it as you really cared before.
It's so great. It's like before you come out of the closet, you're at war with yourself. It's like a civil war in your own mind. Whereas as soon as you do, all of that just goes away. It just stops that day. It's amazing. It's like I've taken antidepressants. I've done everything I could ever do to kind of shift this depression, and it never worked. Just this one decision in my mind, as if the prison cell door had been left open. Do I have the guts to just walk out? Yeah, let's go. It's better than this. And I have no intention of ever going back. So this is going to take me a while. It's going to take me a good 3 years of looking really strange, and then hopefully at the end probably just look a bit weird. I'm happy with that, and just carry on with my life and feel like I've got it early enough that I've got a few years of being youngish.
Yeah, exactly.
To enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, this is amazing to actually hear it. So you don't really need to bother about it anymore, and that's what I also think is very important, to actually be like relaxed about it and don't really care, because it really makes you happy. It's not about making people like happy around you, and you stay like depressed or something. So it's really cool. It's really cool, and I really appreciate it. So.
I mean, just before we move on, I would just say to people, don't worry about making people happy, because if you do become happy, you'll be nice, and they'll be happy to be around you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you need to be a master.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said. That's what I said. That always will be that people that maybe don't accept it, or that will, but it's their problem, right? Because you feel happy, you makes like a happiness around you, and that should be enough. That should be enough. Yeah, that should be enough for people to be polite and to be good for you as well.
So the other thing I wanted to really tell people to look at was science fiction. Old 1950s and 60s science fiction sounds kind of fusty and old-fashioned, and everyone's like smokes pipes and stuff. There is a bit of that, but if you look carefully, there are people who are writing stuff that even today sounds really, really modern, that most of your contemporaries probably won't have read. And if you do get in there, you can get a jump on some great ideas that other people haven't seen yet. So my hot tips for doing that would be Roger Zelazny, Cordwainer Smith, Theodore Sturgeon, Asimov, obviously, Frank Herbert, guy wrote Dune. There's a whole load of these. If you go to the Science Fiction Masterworks series on Amazon, there's a whole selection. Every single one of these is incredible. They're either a 3.5, a 4, or occasionally a 5-star world life-changing book, and you just come away from each one with so many powerful memories. I read one recently called Engine Summer by John Crowley, and it's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, and you come away from it like a changed person. It's given you depth as a person, because you've taken on the mind of this writer, who's obviously a very intelligent, perceptive person, and learned a lot and seen a lot of amazing things while you've been reading it. And you come out of the book just like brimming with ideas of stuff to do. So, that would be my big hot tip. Go and find the classic science fiction authors who are really putting up great stuff. Philip K. Dick, Ideas Man. Oh God, my mind's gone now. Brian Aldiss, who wrote Stars, My Destination. Anyway, the science fiction masterworks, they're all amazing. Every single one of them, you'll come away from it just like, wow, I know what I have to do. So go and dig them out, and you'll get a bit of a head start on your mates. Because
if you want, maybe after the session, you could post some of the real sci-fi related
definitely.
To our event page.
Absolutely.
So you can actually grab it,
Sure, sure.
Would be
And
really
more, I'm
awesome.
sure I'll remember more, and other people can, chime in with their favourites too, because I'd like to learn, who I should read as well. So if anyone has any good suggestions, put them on there as well.
Awesome, yeah.
It'd be interesting to sort of get that. This was a collab between me and Tom Paul. He built the geometry, and I had a go at rendering it up into a kind of space gun thing, which is quite fun.
Okay.
This is what he built, and it's really fun just to be given an asset by somebody else without any control over what they've done, and try and use it in whatever way you could. So I decided it looked a bit like the Sol space gun in Akira, and I like this kind of 1980s TV style, like it's a kind of shit 1981 disaster movie or something. Earthquake. With Paul, what's the guy in Simpsons? He sleeps with the fishes. That guy. He'd be starring it. Doug McClure. Troy McClure. Oh, looks like a face. Stolen from Kubrick, this kind of one-point perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So these were all done in one day. This was like a really intense day.
Really? Whoa.
What I do is get the model and then model it. No, I lie. I tell a lie. I did all the design of the model in one, and then I rendered each of these out and then put them over photo plates or painted.
Sneaky.
Yeah. So really easy. Like each one of these was 15 minutes. Stick on a highlight. Stick on a bit of a ship on the ocean in the distance. Paint some clouds if you've got time. And just churn these out. I think I did about 45 and kept the 20 best ones. Not always the best way of working. Some people get really anxious if you do this and have to change, but I do love doing this on my own work. As a footnote to that, I would say don't do what I say ever, because I'm kind of a bit of a nightmare. And if you want to hold down a job, you're probably best doing what your art director says, not me. But in your personal work, go nuts and have fun.
Yeah, but sometimes it's cool if you come up with something unique, and your art director or person that you actually collaborate with just can find it really cool, and refreshing, because it's not about just some of the people can say it's all about just doing the job that you are assigned for. Maybe if you show something extra, or you just decide to to actually improve it or give some unique touch, it's really cool. That's what I also noticed when I just I don't like.
That's a really good point. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, to go over and above what you've been asked to do. Yeah. I think that's a great way.
It shows also your creativity as well, because you are not only stick to the one thing that you are obligated to do. So
that's a really good point. I think. Yeah, I think that's well worth remembering, to just try and do what they say and then go above and beyond what they ask for and go nuts. This was for Bastian again, and that was what you were saying, really. He asked for a design, but I can't just do the design. I want to make pictures. That's my obsession, is making images.
Yeah, so also presentation. It's also presentation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like the design is an excuse for the image. Like, I wanted to make a scary looking. I think I Darren Brown myself on this, right? Because it looks just like a shot in Godzilla, and I hadn't seen Godzilla at the time. And I think I'd seen the trailer and gone, fuck, that was cool, without really remembering it, and then it had come back out again.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that happens all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So my apologies to Matt Allsop, the concept artist who did all that stuff for Godzilla. That was amazing. And Gareth Edwards. I salute that guy, because have you seen Monsters? Have you seen that movie he made for about 10p? Gareth Edwards' debut movie.
I'm not sure.
Check it out. It's absolutely brilliant. It's not a big action film, but he made it for literally about 25 grand with 2 of his friends, and it is amazing. I love it. It's one of my favourite films ever. Beautiful music. Landed on Earth package, which has unwrapped itself in South America, and it's starting to just take over with these apparently non-sentient monsters, and it's like this whole ecosystem comes out of this panspermia style seed, basically a seed lands or has landed it's implied that it's landed 10 years. I think maybe it was brought back on a space probe. I forget. There was some kind of Andromeda strain style space probe accident, I think, and it landed. Biosecurity was breached. This alien stuff came out and started to grow in South America, and basically these two Americans have to get back from the south of the infected zone to the US border in the north, across the place where these aliens live. And it's this amazing mixture of like FARC rebels, you know, cocaine gunmen hiding in the mountains, and American airstrikes and these alien monsters. And it's all done on 3ds Max in the guy's bedroom, and it looks amazing. It's a fantastic film. I really, really rate it.
Yeah, so if you can also
Check it
put
out.
the link later in the event page, would be awesome.
Yeah.
So you can all grab the stuff that you also mentioned. Yeah, these concepts are just mind-blowing, man.
Thanks. This is really, I mean, again, you talk about cheats, like this is the 3D model that's been painted over. I didn't make the mecha. That was one of the other artists who provided me with the asset, which was a real big help because I don't have any patience with tiny little details. And then just paint over the top, put like some green in there and some highlights here and there and so on, and you can kind of make it look a lot more like there's a lot more detail going on than there really is, I think.
Yeah.
Just by painting and observing what real vehicles and objects look like and how they're often quite symmetric but not perfectly symmetric.
Yeah.
So there'll be the large stuff will be perfectly symmetric, and then on the small scale there'll be small differences. Like if you put both your hands together and look at them, they're kind of largely mirror images, but not exactly the same. That is very common in nature, so that's something you can bring out with your painting at the end. Because often stuff that comes out of the renderer is quite harsh and looks quite sort of sharp and a bit boring in terms of lighting.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, just like too clean even.
Yeah, exactly. Again, if you go to my Facebook photo album, Sketchbook 3, there's all of these images with the rendering and then the photoshopped version. So these are all 15-minute photoshops. And see, I've got like nice sawtooth down there.
50 minutes. You are a beast, man.
Oh, I've lost it. This one, the wings change shape, right? This is a real good scam because it means that you don't have to like add any line. You can just go, well, it changes shape. But as it comes down, and it's like in high-speed attack mode. I don't know what this is. It just looks cool. And then the wings, as it slows down from orbital speed to kind of aerodynamic speed, it starts to unfurl its wings or whatever, and then by the end it's gliding around like a bird. And you think that's crazy, that's going to work. But then you watch these guys in their wingsuits, and that's basically what you see. You just meat and muscles and bones and a brain. And it's flying around. This guy's flying down the mountain, and people have got those wingsuits really good now. They can just fly around and do loop-the-loops and all sorts. You think that is the future, living machines that can just change shape. They're as tough as machines today, but they're basically biological, maybe tougher, in fact. But they've got this kind of biological sophistication, like all the way down to the molecules they're designed. And they just have these strange properties that machines today just don't have, that maybe are more akin to a sea creature or something. And then he sheds the wings later on and drops down. But yeah, you can see that I like to do loads and loads, because if I just do one, I'll be like, yeah, it's okay, I guess, but it doesn't really show how cool it looks from the top, you know, or vice versa. If you do it from the top, you can't see the mech. So to cover all my bases, I just do loads and keep the 10 best ones.
Yeah. So strong in terms of like the shapes of Jesus, and the presentation is like the point that you really put the focus onto. So it's really amazing.
I think it's fun to kind of use the design as a sort of an excuse. Like, I didn't really give a shit about planes, but I really wanted to make a kind of pseudo-religious style composition, you know, with the central spike and then these things coming off. And it's all kind of symbolism that you want to... I like trying to encode, like, things that look almost sexual or almost like someone's guts, because they just sort of put you on edge, you know, they just... kind of a bit, I could justify by saying that maybe they manage turbulence or they serve some aerodynamic function, but really they're just there because insects have creepy little hairs on them. You know, flies have horrible hairs all over them, and I like to try and use those symbols to get under people's skin a little bit, just kind of put them on edge. So gives the design, and like that. I mean, it's just an excuse to draw a sort of dark angel or something. You know, that's Satan.
Yeah, angels falling
Yeah.
falling from the
And it looks
sky.
like a scary face. If you ever get a chance to make your design look like a bit like a scary face, do it, because people don't really realise that it looks like a face, but they kind of do as well. Like, check it out, the face. Hello. Scary face. And it's like this weird, like it's kind of funny but also horrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I like. That's always a
It's nicely hidden, by the way. Oh yeah, and this Ferrari. Oh yeah, the reddish ones are just. Oh man.
I've been raping this kind of the plane.
This is really sexy. This one is really sexy.
I think this was a shout out to my friend Iggy. He came up with this. He was sitting next to me. I think it was his idea to do the Ferrari, so I can't claim credit. But yeah, Ferrari. You can see I was already like using this thing where what you do is you make a bump map and put it like a reflective texture on it and blur the bump map, and it gives you this look of the planes.
So it's somehow like 3D and just paint over, right?
Yeah, this was 3D, so that the water is 3D apart from these little flecks.
Nice.
Painted. That's 3D. Those are 2D, the flames, because you can just drop them on with the lighten layer.
I thought that the ground is just a photo, so nice.
No, the ground is basically a bump map, which you get some noise, blur it in a particular direction, and then that creates this kind of rippled surface on the water.
All right.
And it's a really low-cost way of just having a speedy background, because if it's in the sky, it could just be standing still. There's no way of telling that it's going fast apart from the flames coming out the back. But if you have it going across the water, it's a really quick way of just like zoom, 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 and the water is reflected, so it gives you this beautiful kind of pickup of the lights above, and that's painted actually. But it means that it's just pretty. Water's pretty, and if you can put pretty things in your picture, then it just makes it prettier. So, you know, water again, it's just pretty. I'd rather look at the water than the plane, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
no, it all looks amazing and like very consistent. So
I find that you can do consistent work in one session, but then if you try and do it again the next day, it's different.
It's somehow the truth. It's like you are just distracting yourself and you just lose that flow, you know?
Yeah.
It's all
and you find a different flow. You find a different flow. For example, the difference between the ones we were just looking at and these is about a week, I think. Like the colours are different, the style is different. Like they're less reliant on images. They're much more about like painted stuff and 3D. There's very little in the way of photoplay in there. So they have like for example, if you put a photo in, you feel compelled to match the photo detail for detail in the object, so that it doesn't look like a kind of mismatch between the plate and the model. Whereas if you just paint in a flat sky, you'll feel much more free to make a kind of more anime style. So yeah. I guess if I wanted to, I could really control it more and make them more consistent. But I tend to think of it more like jazz. It's just like music, and if you've got a kind of feel for it, then follow that thread and trust in it, and it'll be okay at the end. You'll figure it out. It's like a kind of, it's never a straight line. It's more of a kind of spiral into where you want it to be. Gradually doing the big stuff and then down to the small stuff and then the very tiny details. Yeah. And at each stage you're kind of reassessing how it's going. If it looks shit, then temper change.
Yeah, and you put a lot of nice small details, like the chicken guy that was on the...
Oh, well, foghorn leghorn. Yeah, I think that's probably not legal, but yeah. When you want to relate it to real world, I guess real stuff does look pretty silly sometimes. Like stuff that in movies, everything has to look really cool, and I always think that kind of ruins it a bit. Like if stuff looks cool, it looks too, I don't know, like it's too easy. Whereas real things in the real world often look fucking strange and like a bit silly, as well as looking cool. The only things that look cool are like supercars. A lot of industrial machines and military machines look kind of bizarre, really. Hummers, the Humvee, it's so fucking strange looking, but it also is amazing, or whatever. I mean, there's a million examples, and I think I was noticing in guys like Vaughan Ling does these amazing mechs, and Aaron Beck as well, and Ben Morrow. They do these incredible mechs, and they always have this strangeness to them, as well as looking as if they're from the real world. They have this amazing ability to kind of make stuff that's completely bizarre and strange and silly almost look 100% legit real. And I think it's a real interesting one, that. So yeah, don't always go for the easy option of making it look super cool and badass. Make it look a bit strange and a bit silly, and you'll maybe pay you dividends. So I've been chatting on for ages and ages, really boringly.
No, man, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear, really, believe me, and I think that people are also appreciating it. But I was thinking, we just crossed almost 2 hours right now, so I don't want to just cut you off from your talk. Maybe if you just let me know when you want to finish, or maybe we can go to quickly grab some painting to overpaint as a last part of the session.
Absolutely, yeah, I think we can do that. And what I'll do is what I tend to find happens with these overpaints is that the first hour or two I'm just kind of figuring stuff out, so it might be a little bit boring to watch, but what I'll do is I'll keep working on it and then add it to the group after I've got
Awesome, yeah, so maybe if it would be cool if we just jump into overpaint for a 15 minutes maybe, and then of course if it's up to you, because I don't really want to spend or just waste your time on overpainting stuff after the session.
I've been working hard recently to clear tonight to do this exact thing. So I've got like this evening from now onwards, after we finish the session, I'll just keep working on these, and I'll hopefully add them up to the group, and people can see what I've.
So yeah,
do you want to do some crits or the painting?
Actually, if you have like those 4 pictures that I sent you, maybe you could do like very quick tips on, like, without even overpainting them, like on what would you do, like what would you do better, or what would you actually advise to fix?
All right, yeah, let's have a look. So can you see my Photoshop? Or
yes, of course, yeah.
You can. Okay, very good. So yeah, let's have a look at. So yeah, I was saying a bit earlier, I was a bit worried because these all look really good already. So there's no obvious, easy, low-hanging fruit advice that I can give. So this one's very Blade Runner-y, Fifth Element-y. I like it. I like how it's basically, when they did Star Wars the prequels, they kind of ripped off Blade Runner and Fifth Element, and they didn't quite get it right. And I think this looks a lot more Blade Runner-y than they did it when they've made Coruscant. I think this is pretty successful in terms of.
All right.
Of Blade Runner, the darkness, but then you've got this amazing, just down view of Fifth Element. I actually love the Fifth Element. I've drawn many a flying car street scene, so I totally get that. I love this blue. It's nice. Mm-hmm. I think there's some pretty good control going on here in terms of.
Yeah, I really love the composition as well. It's really like you can feel the depth.
Yeah.
You can feel the depth.
Absolutely. I think in terms of everything apart from this top car and maybe these nearer ones, it's actually looking really, really pretty solid. I would maybe just kind of make these shapes a little bit more, I don't know, just have a play and like get some rim lights on there and stuff. Everyone likes rim lights. I'll put on a new layer actually.
Yeah, I think that the front car would have like a stronger shadows, like the darker part.
Right, yeah.
Without giving that much light, just distract the view.
I think that's true, yeah. And I think I was watching, that's a good rule of thumb, is like the stuff that's near to you tends to have darker shadows, and darker in general, and darker shadows than stuff that's further away, because the further away stuff has been, the light has been scattered by the atmosphere in between you and the thing. So
exactly.
That's up close. Probably. And oh god, I think my Photoshop just forgets how to do turn. You can't turn the canvas or something. The really good me painting of he going past the. I think overall this is a pretty solid attempt. Just have a think.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what I do like is this nice volumes there, just reflecting the blue light from somewhere else. That's pretty slick. And I like how it looks like you've used bits of the background to create, bits of somewhere else on the image to create these little bits of detail. That's nice. That's like clever thinking, man.
Yeah, nice idea
You
to
can use
speed
it.
up the process, actually.
Right, right. So this is obviously a bit of some skyscraper from somewhere else on the image. I mean, maybe probably up here somewhere, maybe. And then it's some texture, and then it's just kind of there. I would say don't just leave it as that. Maybe some, little personalization on it to kind of.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more.
Just work it a bit.
Yeah, just put more variety on it.
Also, don't put the noise on until the very end because it means that you can't color pick. Because you see how the noise.
Yeah, exactly. You just pick up the colors from the
colors,
noisy filter. So.
Makes it very difficult to pick up the color and then paint with it. That would be one thing I'd say. Do the noise at the absolute last minute if you put it on at all. I do like noise, but yeah, very last thing.
Yeah. It's really good picture, by the way.
I think this is pretty damn good.
Yeah, of course.
Oh. It's just sort of sketching a slightly sleeker car. Tend to be symmetrical on the outside in terms of line along the top, separating one half from the other. Is kind of one side is the same as the other side. Generally, and planes the same. Not always. I've seen asymmetric planes, but they're rare and very odd looking as well. I would do more rendering on this guy. Maybe even not have him blurred, just have a nice cabin scene of like.
Yeah, maybe some outlined silhouette or of pilot or something.
Right. Maybe a guy and a woman or whatever, just two people chatting or driving aggressively in the, depending on what story you want to tell, rather than just a kind of blur. I'm on the spot now. I've got billions of brushes, but I tend to put all the ones I like at the top. So there's a forest of like random ones in here, which you just go into now and again when you're a bit stuck. The serious ones are at the top. They're all like Pelings and perhaps all that.
My friend sent me, my friend from studio, sent me a really interesting question. I dare to ask it. I hope that you are fine with it. It's quite funny though.
I think it's going to be a good question.
Okay,
yeah.
So here's the question: do you think artists have a benefit over non-artists when it comes to learning how to do a nice makeup?
I think it's I'd always been wanting to get into traditional like materials, like pencil and paint and stuff. I didn't expect that it would be bring on my own face. It's just the way these things work out sometimes. So yeah, I'm learning pencil technique and smudging and sharpness.
Awesome!
Yeah. Because I tell you what, if you do it wrong on your own eyeball, you learn quickly not to do that again. So yeah, that would be my my advice. If anyone wants to learn traditional techniques, have a sex change.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, just something interrupted.
I have to say, I would recommend it even for like straight guys who would never otherwise do this.
Yeah.
Living as a girl, like I say, it's so weird. It's really interesting. You can see a different perspective on the world.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It takes ages to get ready. I understand now why it takes people so long to get ready to go out. Because as a guy, you can just put on a t-shirt and you know, maybe run a razor over your face, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody hell, enough work to get ready to go out. You've got to do like hair and makeup, and then you're like, you know, what clothes do I want to wear? It's a nightmare.
Good point, man. Good point.
All right, so yeah, you can see I'm starting to just kind of randomly, not really sure what I'm doing, but like make these closer ones a touch more detailed, and the further ones, I think this one could stay blurry. Blurry is a nice motion. Nice motion to it. I think this is really good. What else is Blade Runnery? Everyone's face, don't they? Or Japanese woman's face on the side of a building, like that's.
Yeah, just to
Blade
put a
Runnery. So
little
maybe
bit.
don't do that. Maybe.
Yeah, just to put a little bit more of the
giant
stuff.
trees. For some reason, everyone loves it.
Yeah. Just even like add more neons or something that really creates like it's not like only empty city with the lights in the buildings going on.
Right, yeah. And I think that what they've done is it looks like they've taken skyscraper textures and then stretched them over the image using a lighten layer. I think that's a brilliant idea. That really works. It's a great way of adding that kind of nice, rich
details. Yeah.
window texture without drawing it like that. Yeah, the side of an office building and just stretched it up to that form. I think that works really well.
Yeah.
I think they have more bridges between the buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah, some connectors.
Come back to that one. It's a nice stuff going on there. Look at what else we've got. Jan Philip Eckhart.
Yeah, this is also
probably
pretty.
better than I could do.
Come on, it's really amazing. It's like it has a very strong division of the values of the planes.
Yeah. I think I'd maybe mix it up a bit. I think it's too logical.
Yeah, I think that the composition would be a little bit more stronger, but otherwise the technique and the rendering.
It's almost too strong. I like to have a little bit of clue in there. You know, a little bit of off balance leads to the composition. If it's too obvious, like
it's too centered. It's too centered. Like you have like bridge in the center, the person in the center. Maybe it will be somehow cut.
I think you're right, or at least what you can do is always, in fact, just try a million things. So, like, what would it look like if I had a bunch of other guys over here?
Yeah, like an army standing behind his leader or something.
Try different things. Try lots of different objects. I mean, I think a lot of it is pretty nice. I like the trees that you've done. All of this has been carefully painted, so I'm loath to just put it apart. But maybe I spent just hours just trying things, and a lot of them never make the cut. But I know what I don't want to do as a result. I'm a kind of quite boring person to watch work, because a lot of times it'll just be like, no, was there.
Yeah, maybe some atmospheric effect that actually create some story to it,
Yeah, a bit of mist and mood.
Yeah, it always works, but it works because it's quite accurate. It's not like because of its cheap trick or something.
And all of these things, there's no rule of thumb. It's always something works one time, might not work another. Maybe it's not appropriate to the image. Maybe you don't want it to be too kind of dreamy and misty. But with dragon in the distance, I think it kind of makes sense that you'd have this sort of fantasy, medieval kind of vibe going on. Did anyone ever see that weird Dragon Slayer movie that had the guy from Ghostbusters 2 in it, that was the hero? You know, the little Weasley Polish guy, Janosz in Ghostbusters 2. He's the hero, and he's got like an amulet, and it's got like really, really good special effects. I think they spent a lot of money on this film, and it didn't quite, live up to investor expectations. But it's got an amazing dragon in it, and it's all treated with complete respect. There's no it's not a comedy at all. I think it might be one of those Disney movies that they made briefly when they were like making serious films, serious young adult movies, like the one with the wasps in the forest, which is super creepy, and the black hole, just shit. and that Dragon Slayer. But yeah, it had an amazing dragon in it, which I recommend. Maybe Dragon HQ.
Yeah, maybe we could just see only a piece of his wing or something.
Yeah, that'll be.
Oh yeah, or something like couple of them in the
Like he's going in and out of the clouds.
Yeah, it's getting stronger then. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the guy coming around a circle or something.
Awesome.
So it's almost like we're talking about possible story ideas to kind of push the image.
Yeah, you know,
the image is fine. I think it's absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, you can see how many ideas coming to your mind when you just only move some stuff on the picture.
Big fan of that collage style where you just kind of move things around and stuff pops out of you rather than come with a particular plan. Just kind of spot things that look cool.
Yeah.
Big fan of like just popping and distorting and seeing how that changes stuff. You'll try and fit a lot of. I always find I try and fit a lot of things in the image. Like I want this tree, but I also want this cliff over here, and I get a bit precious about it. And it's nice just to crop a lot of shit away and just have a different version. Save it as a different file with just the essentials in there, like really tight crop on just the key elements. That'd be kind of cool. And it gives you another chance to like play with the composition a bit as well.
Yeah.
Like, you wonder maybe if it wouldn't make sense to have the dragon underneath the arch. I'm not sure. The arch is a very fake-looking arch. I think the arch needs some more trees and stuff like that. Or maybe the arch has been blasted by the dragon's fiery breath, in which case it would all be like red and melted all around. Like quite cool. Something like that. It looks like this is freshly done, this damage, and it'd be awesome to like see how the dragon's like melted it with his breath. So this is all kind of flowed, like maybe kind of liquefied rock has just flowed down there like that, and it's got a decent much.
Wait, it will definitely lag a little bit.
Oh god.
Yeah, because you also stream, so.
It's amazing that streaming takes up so much RAM.
Yeah, of course.
So a mixer brush might be a better choice here, but yeah, maybe have all that rock just like melted and like the liquid hardened or something. It'll take a while to paint that, but once you start getting ideas like that, they kind of define what you have to paint.
Yeah.
So you then go away and have a look at loads of like melted candle wax. Yeah, start to think.
Yeah, and it also cut that very smooth line of this hole. It adds a little bit more interesting shapes into it.
Yeah, I agree, and it might be easier then to kind of not have this arch quite so. Quite so obvious. Terrible painting technique, just like scribbling back and forth. Not sure if maybe I'm not actually that in love with that idea of having that.
Yeah, it's nice. Something different.
You sort of like the idea that it's just left from incredible nuclear breath. maybe come back to that one. Oh yeah, I'll come back to that as well. Right, so okay, so we've got some lightsaber action going on. So this is very similar to the Star Wars trailer. So if you're going to do something like that, I would one-up it in some way. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, tilt it maybe in a different direction, like
Yeah, that's right.
just not point it exactly in the same line like these lights are going, because it
And
makes
I don't really know the right angle, so I'm going to just grab it off the background and
yeah, that's what I
just
meant.
sort of move it around and see what happens. Because it's easier to rid of the one behind. Content-aware delete is amazing. Put the layer on the background, grab it, get rid of it. Boom, fun, amazing. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And then you can cut it.
No, that centered one I think it was better.
You think it was better? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the problem of cutting his own arms off. So quite like how it is. The other guy's one looks like almost like a whip. That'd be quite cool, like a light whip.
Mm-hmm.
My anatomy is not brilliant, but I think maybe some more study to the pose worthwhile. I'm sure you can find a good reference, or just get your friend to do it.
Yeah, there's plenty of, like on DeviantArt, for instance. If you go to resources and stock images, you can just easily find a lot of poses. Type the warrior.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that, so I'm going to use that. No, I had no idea.
It's like when you type in warrior or just knight, there's plenty of the different references and stuff. But yeah, sometimes it takes time to actually download the stuff that you want. But yeah, it's the same with Flickr. The same with Flickr. If you go to Flickr and type some knight tournaments, you can find a lot of different like dynamic poses.
Like historical reenactments and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a bit hard stuff in there, I think. Are there any questions I can answer?
Just people are talking about lightsabers and stuff.
Oh yeah, I figured as much. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, if you have any more questions, if you have any questions to Alex, just feel free to ask. We will be on for a couple more minutes, and then we can wrap up. I have also a question, but I will leave it to the end. So.
Sure. And what I'll do is I'll crack on with these, and I should have some results by the end of the evening or early tomorrow, and a sort of progression. I'll save like some sequential shots to show how I've worked.
Awesome. Yeah.
It tends to take me a while to kind of get into the groove of things, and then once I do, it's fine. So this was this is my this is my favorite reaction to my recent lifestyle changes. I thought they'd put this up. This is one that really made me lose my temper at the time, and I was like, God, you're a dick. Stop being such a baby. So I'm going to keep this as my reminder of just like.
I hope that you won't feel like this anymore after today's session.
That's the plan. That's the aim. But
awesome.
I kind of I'm going to keep this on my you know, my computer just to kind of remind me, eyes on the prize. Don't be a fucking moaner. Just
Yeah,
get off of
man. Just
it.
carpe diem and live your life.
Tempest, fuck it. That's what I say.
Awesome. There are just show up a couple of questions. Maybe pick up. I'll pick up two of them. So, what do you do when you are stuck with a painting and nothing comes out right?
There are a few things you can do. One thing I tend to do is just keep going, and it might be a bit of a slog, but I often find that after you've done about 3 or 4 hours of pure misery, not getting anywhere, you start to get somewhere. So one thing is be persistent. Another thing is take a break and do something else. That's why I like to work on 5 different images at the same time, because quite often, one, I'll just kind of get bored. I'll be like, ugh, I've had enough of this now. I've done enough on this one. And then just change the screen to another image and do another one. And just do more of them, all of them simultaneously. That's a fun way of doing things. What else? Don't be afraid to try just to completely go nuts and like chop everything apart. Like maybe your image has got all the things you want in it, but it's a bit stiff. Just save it, put it in the bank version with all of the ingredients thrown out the window, no rules, and just what happens. And often stuff will just pop out at you from the page, like bits on a page, like a column, and you move them around. Sooner or later, something will pop out at you. A third thing is find reference by artists you think are brilliant and how have they done it. So, you know, I find infinite enthusiasm and encouragement in Craig Mullins. I always go and look at his work and see what he's having and how original he is and how much he's just clearly loving what he's doing and loving not just the subject, not just the storytelling, but just loving colour. He clearly just loves to play with colour, and he loves that creamy, near the grey colour, like nothing's saturated, nothing's highly black or highly white. It's all at this kind of creamy mid-level, and it just, oh, I love it. It looks so good. He's just having such a good time. So those are the things I would try and remember. And if it's really, really not working, and you know, go and have some fun with your friends, play some PlayStation, be thinking about it. And more often than not, if you go for a run, wash the dishes, play PlayStation with your friends, whatever, go for a drive, listen to music, ideas will come. And once you go through this process a few times, like once you've done a few hundred images, and each one of them has had a period where you're like not very sure about how well it's going to go, and then you push through it and it's fine, very quickly you start to realize that you can trust yourself. You can be confident in your practiced techniques. You know what you're doing. You're not an idiot. Just keep going and work hard, and more often than not, it ends up fine. I still have images where they just never work, but it's rare these days, to be honest. And the ones that I don't like, just throw them in the bin. Get on with the next one, you know?
Awesome.
What else? Is there a way I can save a load of images to the event? Because I can probably just add lots of like failed attempts, or the way things looked before the render and after might be something I can talk about. Like, for example, I've got any examples? I've got lots of examples on my computer of like the rendering before it was photoshopped, and you can see how shit it looks. So don't worry if your modelling isn't up from scratch, because you don't need to make Toy Story 3. You just need to be able to make a kind of nice,
Yeah, it needs to be only just helpful, right? Like a helpful guide.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I used to make every tiny thing in the 3D scene. I used to add like every button on every computer on everything, and it just took ages, obviously, because the detail, you know, the more detail you go down into, the more work you have to do fractally or geometrically increases. And it also makes everything look stiff because there's detail everywhere. And I found that these days I do the bare minimum in 3D. So I make the model, I play around with the shape as if it's in clay until I'm happy with the shape. Take some photographs of it from different angles that are really rough. And that forces you to do more of the form in Photoshop, and that makes it look more like a drawing rather than a kind of 3D rendering, because you've actually drawn more of it. And I found more and more my modelling, I've got lazier and lazier with it. So in the olden days, I would take ages and I would model everything really carefully. Now I'm really
Yeah, it's the same somehow with painting. You also, like a lot of people, I just even started with a lot of details first, and then just realize, all right, something doesn't work, and I have to actually repaint everything. So it doesn't make sense. It's
That's
more
right.
like it's better to just start with like some blocks, blockouts, or just very like big shapes, and then if you have all set, actually you can just go nuts with details.
And there's a kind of perennial debate amongst young concept artists about whether or not photos are acceptable. I'm of the school that you do anything you can. The only things that are not allowed are like just copying and saying it's yours. So, I found this photograph on the internet of like an Iraqi road. I painted a car, I painted some street lights, that palm trees from the photograph, and it just, that road is, as you can see from the 3D rendering, and it just kind of adds that palette which you can then paint from in the image. So this is exactly the same. That's a picture of a bombed out car or a car from a junkyard. That's a different car, that tyre there. And when you stick that in, it gives you that kind of visual noise that is very easy then to map across the rest of the picture. Like you can see how much detail and what colours are there. You can then paint in them. So this is all painted. This guy is from a different photo, get a different car, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of at the same time loose and also detailed, which I always like. So I'm 100% in favour of using any tool you can. If you want to make a model out of Lego and take a photograph of it and use that as your scale guide, go for it. If you want to make an origami,
exactly.
Make it out of
it's awesome advice, man. Awesome advice. Like many others that you already said. So yeah, I think we
that was 3 hours now.
Not really, but 2.5. And I have the one level up question that we asked to everyone. If you had to choose, would you rather be Godzilla or a billionaire, and why?
Oh man, I think I would be a billionaire, like the guy in Contact, John Hammond, I think his name is, or Haddon, or Elon Musk, because he's making his own space program. He's he's doing everything he wants to do, really. So I think that would be a billionaire. Godzilla, he's protecting the Earth, but he's destroying stuff. Whereas Elon Musk is building new stuff. So I'd go for the building new stuff. That'd be my
awesome. Yeah, and this is what we repeat a couple of times. You can always build your own one if you're a billionaire. So it's
exactly. True, that's a good point. So you can be a billionaire and make yourself a giant Mechagodzilla to
in the Godzilla, like a billionaire in the Godzilla, and you can control it. It's amazing. So yeah, man, it was such a pleasure to have you today. Amazing time, amazing tips and knowledge, and awesome job, awesome work. So keep it going. Be happy. Don't care about anything, and make your life happy, as you do. So.
That's the plan. I mean, I'm looking at my little preview window. It looks like I'm a mime. I've got the kind of. Bye-bye!
So once again, thank you very much. It was a really amazing session. I hope that we meet up pretty soon. And yeah, man, thank you once again, and thanks everyone who was watching us. Feel free to follow Alex Brady on Facebook and subscribe to our channel for next information and next session with Level Up. Once again, thanks a lot, man. And see you guys.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.